I'd like to bring to order the May 4th meeting of the Tiverton Town Council. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk.
Councillor Paul?
Present.
Councillor Edwards?
Present.
Councillor Janik?
Present.
Councillor Edwards?
Present.
Councillor DiMederos?
Present.
Councillor Burke?
Present.
Councillor Milburn is absent.
All right, so this is our public comment time. I know at least one person has to leave a little early, so whoever wants to speak now can. And what we'll do is, I'm sure you're all here for the discussion for the budget, so I'll let people speak at that point too. So, Shannon, address.
Is this on? No? Yes?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're on.
All right, thank you. Shannon McNamara, 65 East DeMello Drive. First off, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I can probably say this for a lot of parents in this town, that these last few months have been some of, the most frustrating for me. And I do want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you to so many of you who are sitting here today, who've taken the time to really speak with me and some of the other parents, and, in some cases, personally talked me off a ledge. So it is greatly appreciated. I moved to Tiverton only 2.5 years ago, and it really was because I had heard some great things about the schools here. Education and the ability to send my kids to a school near their home, it's really been important to me. So a little bit of a background, I didn't grow up in a town. I grew up in Worcester, I grew up in a city, and I went to a Catholic school that was a 20-minute drive from my house. So it didn't include any of the kids from my neighborhood. And I didn't have any friends around the corner, and, I always had to be driven somewhere if I was going to go hang out or do something outside of school. And, just for a little bit of context, that was during the 80s and 90s when you could literally take your bike and be gone for 8 hours. So that kind of says something. Because of this, it made choosing the area to raise my kids so important to me. Because I wanted them to have friends in their neighborhood that they rode the bus with. And guess what? They do, and it's really awesome. So I'm here today in front of a group of people that I feel comfortable speaking with to ask you to please do what you can to help fund the schools. I do say, though, that this plea actually does come with some stipulations. I would like some oversight of what's happening with the money once it's released. And I wanted this funding to be given under the guise that closing Fort Barton and shuffling every single elementary school child out of the school that they're currently in is off the table. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know how this can be done. I don't know if this can be done, but that's my ask of you. Please help us, the parents of this town, who have taken up the not very easy task of fighting for our kids. As parents, we're tired, we're frustrated, and we just want to send our kids to school and know that they're close by and getting the best education that they can. I know I personally do not want to keep having this battle year after year. As parents, we can only take this fight so far, and then it's ultimately out of our hands. So we're asking you to help us carry this the rest of the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Does everyone else want to wait till the end, or do they want to speak now? Sally, you want to wait? Or no, you can come up with the tiger and everything else. Do you want me to tell the story about that?
Please do.
So when we were building Fort Barton, I got a call at work that the tree warden was standing in front of a tree and wouldn't let them cut it down, and they couldn't continue working. And he said that Louise Durfee had planted that tree when she was in elementary school, and they weren't allowed to shut it down. I was in the middle of a busy recovery room, so I called her. She was on the school committee with me. I show up maybe 45 minutes later. She's in the trailer with all these men with the bear at the conference table talking. And that's the first time I met Fort Barton Bear.
Fort Barton Bear was there.
Go ahead.
Okay, hello everybody. Thank you so much for letting us speak. And I must say, I feel very comfortable speaking here today. So thank you. I'm going to start very quickly. I'm here in support of the whole town. I worked with all of you. I know there's one pie and we all have to share it. So here's a sign from my archive, Save Our Schools. They are essential, but it's not just the schools that are essential. It's police, fire, DPW, everybody. My son was on the police force for 20 years and he had to always hear how the towns nearby got paid so much more than him. What are you doing there? Come with us. He didn't go because I would have put him in, but anyway. So I know everybody needs what they need. But one thing we all know for sure, one thing, is that $1 more devastates the schools. We've been through it before. We saw what happened. We don't know what else happened. We'll find out. But that's the one thing we know. So I would just go quickly, and I'll say, for the history of the schools, after the Great Depression, what did Tiverton do? They built Ranger School in 1931, and they built Fort Barton School in 1936. And they built a library. That's what the citizens of Tiverton did. And then come up to the 2000s when we were all sitting there. And the Station nightclub fire happened, and the fire department said, guess what? All your schools are non-compliant. You were there, Mr. Carter. You have to get a waiver or close them down. So we keep going up to the state, oh, we're going to fix them, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. $11 million to rehab them, or $30 million to build them beautiful the way they are now. State of the art, beautiful, even down to what colors are in. We had charrettes in the neighborhoods. Everybody was involved, the parents. There were arguments. Remember, Mr. Burke will remember arguments back and forth. It was a lot of fun, but we got it done, okay? The Tiverton citizens pledged $30 million to build 3 elementary schools, so Shannon could have what the people voted in 2002, 80-20 for neighborhood schools. They said no to a mega school. They wanted their kids to be able to walk to the playground and the parents to be able to walk. So right now, if this new thing passes, it's not just about Fort Barton, please, everybody know. It's about all the elementary schools. If you live next door to Fort Barton and your kid's in the 3rd grade, he's going to get on the bus and go up to Picasso and everything else. Some parents don't know that. They're saying, oh, I feel badly what's happened to Fort Barton. I said, isn't your child in the 3rd grade at that school? Yeah. I said, well, they're going to the middle school next year. They said, oh, no, they're not. I said, yeah, 4th grade. It's going to the middle school. So we all have to know that. And I appreciate what you all do. I see you working here for years with us. Every Saturday, line by line, what do we need? Let's balance this. Let's change that. It's an amazing process. The reason I stood outside today is because when we had the FTR, I stood out there from 8 in the morning till 8 at night talking to everybody, and on Saturday, just in case they had questions about the budget. Now you're the appropriating authority. That's a huge job, and I know you take it seriously, and I appreciate all of you. For the past few years since you've been in those seats, I believe personally you've done well by the schools. You've gotten a good percentage, casino money. The big thing Mr. Edward and I used to talk about was giving the housing aid back to the schools so we could reuse it and reuse it. You did that. You've done so much that I don't know why everybody's not here saying thank you all. And the town treasurer down there digging at all the numbers all the time. It's an amazing process. So I thank you all, but please, when you think of $1 more, at least a bridge budget that will carry us through and not devastate us till we can figure this out. Thank you.
Thanks, Sally.
Thanks, Ally.
And the other 2 will wait. Is that, okay. I think the library is here, so we'll get them done.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I know my
You
my
wanna wait?
father is the treasurer for the library, so he called me and asked me to tell you he's on his way.
Okay.
He should be here in 2 minutes, might be 3.
Is he getting coffee?
Probably not. He wakes up at like 3 in the morning. He's a maniac.
Do you want to do some of the treasurer until Denise? Want to do a little bit? I don't know. Let's try to get some of this up. Up, here we go. That's all you get, Denise. You can go.
2 minutes early, let's go.
All right, library. I think I left that at home. Oh, no, I didn't.
Actually, before we start, Mr. Solicitor, I'm assuming I have to abstain here? No? Okay.
No. Jay's not getting any money in his pocket. I don't think anyway. No, not.
Just want to make sure I'm following the rules. You have to.
John wanted to make sure if he had to recuse himself. I said, no, your dad's not getting any money.
And does everybody have a copy of the presentation? I have plenty more if needed.
This-
Put them here as well.
Oh, you want it? You want it? Okay. Hi, Catherine.
Good morning. Can everyone
Welcome,
hear me
Carol
all
and
right?
Jay also.
All right, so it's a pleasure to be in front of all of you again this year. And I'll start on page 2 of the budget report. And I know you have a very packed agenda today, so I will just highlight some of the happenings at Tiverton Public Library over the past year. So we're very proud to say that we have 35% of the town's population registered for a library card. And we also have an out-of-state option, and we have 280 out-of-state cardholders. So I think saying that Tiverton Library is a beacon among not only the Rhode Island community, but also the Massachusetts community is a fair statement. And in fiscal year '23, we had 52,926 visitors. We had 81,591 physical collection items circulated, and 708 programs that span all ages. I give you a little bit of detail about our staffing levels at the library. I'm proud to say that we also have not had any staff leave due to salary issues since 2021. And so that was something we had struggled with for quite some time. And we're in a good position at the library with staffing salary levels after comprehensive reviews over the past couple of years. We are known as a community hub, as I mentioned before, and in fiscal year '24 to date, so this year to date, our patrons have borrowed over $1.1 million worth of library materials from both Tiverton Library and our Ocean State Libraries Consortium. So if you take that cost of the materials that our patrons have borrowed, within 5 months of being in fiscal year '24, we've actually exceeded our town allocation. So that is just a view of how well the library is utilized, but also how we are worth every penny that we utilize. I'd also like to mention every year the AARP Tax Aid Foundation, it comes to the library, and last year they had 389 individuals who they assisted with doing taxes. And if you think about the cost of doing a tax return on your own, we helped save that group of individuals over $65,000. So again, just another example of how the library pays for itself and assists anyone who needs that assistance or would like to come to our programs, would like to use materials. I'll also just mention that we are always looking for community partners and how we can better connect with community organizations. Just to name a few, we work with Rhode Island Blood Center, and I'll say it's really great to get the number of donors who come through our doors after a blood drive happens, and they always say, you have saved this many number of lives. I think that's really important to know that we're not just a library, but we are a community building where we can host programs like that. We have a great connection with URI Master Gardeners, also with Youth Build in Fall River. Launched Beginnings was a new partnership where we have students with special needs come in and do work study programs with us. And we also have a long list of artists and program facilitators who walk through our doors to assist us with programs each year. The fiscal year '25 budget that we're presenting today is we're hoping to expand our well-utilized digital resource collection, adding a service called Hoopla for Tiverton patrons, which is ebooks, audiobooks, streaming music, and streaming films. This was actually one of the top requests from our 2023 strategic plan survey, where we had 269 responses from both library patrons and those who don't use the library and what they would like to see from us going forward for the next 5 years. We also are continuing to prioritize our building and property upkeep, and I provide you with a list of the property maintenance items over the last year later in this report, and also how we can best fiscally responsibly support the library with increasing costs everywhere. I'm sure we're all aware of inflation and how costs have risen for just about everything in society right now. And so it's our duty to be able to find the best prices possible for services, for books, for programs, and make sure that it's not only a great cost for what we're getting, but also that we're passing those great services on to whether it be the building, those who pass through our doors, and that we're able to maintain the high level of professionalism at the library. So that's just a bit of an introduction for you. Going through pages 4 and 5 are just some information about the libraries. One of the statistics I'd like to point out is that we had an increase of 182% in our wireless internet sessions. And so we've seen this large influx of work from home individuals coming to the library just so they can have a break from their home office and their home setting. And so we have welcomed them and been able to provide that kind of support for them. We've also seen a 42% increase in our computer sessions. So we also have folks still coming in to use our public access computers, and we just introduced a mobile printing service as well. The mobile printing service costs $399 per year, and just in 1 month of having that mobile printing service, it's generated $174 in printing. So again, we're able to put these services into place, but also fiscally responsibly balance those items in our budget. On page 6, I give you an organizational chart so that you can see our staff members and how our tree at the library works with our staff. And page 7, I think, is an important inclusion in this because in order for us to fully staff the library, so have all 4 of our service points staffed, it would take 212 hours of staff time per week, and we are actually only able to fill 154 of those hours. So that leaves our children's library desk and our teen library desk understaffed during the week. And so at night or during the time when the teen librarian is not there, you may not see somebody at those desks. But we do fully staff our information desk and also our office where our phone calls come in and where our drive-through is serviced. Moving on to page 8 is a bit of continued information about the library staff. And then onto the bottom of page 8 is some financial information. So funds known as grant and aid from the state of Rhode Island total a percentage of the town allocation. So a couple weeks ago, I spoke with you all about a resolution to fully fund state aid. Many communities have adopted similar resolutions, so we're really hopeful that in the General Assembly, there will be some movement to get state aid to 25%. One of the other avenues of financial, sort of one of the buckets that we have is our Bank Newport account. So many of you know that our Friends of the Library support 100% of our library programs, which is incredible. So they fundraise throughout the year, and then they donate once a year a lump sum for us based on a budget we set for our programs. They also 100% fund our museum passes. So in that Bank Newport account, we have just over $22,000 that is restricted for programs and book donation funds. That's from the Friends of the Library and also the John Fitzgerald Memorial Fund. The remaining fund balance of just over $67,000 is used for expenditures beyond what our town allocation may cover. So if at the end of the year we go over our budget, then we are paying the town from this account. And one of the most recent expenditures was $12,000 for our strategic plan consultant team. They helped us with our next 5-year plan. And our fiscal year 25 priorities include funding for a new library website Any unanticipated health plan increases, so for example, a change from individual to family plan, and continuing the design planning process for our outdoor program space project. And just to put it in perspective, a new library website is probably going to be around $15,000 to $20,000 just because of how substantial our site is and all of the information that is connected on there. So I think it's really important for us to make sure that we're able to cover that cost on our own, and that would be how we would do it. Moving on to page 9 is our property repairs and maintenance report. I've included this over the past couple of years after we had some questions about property repairs and maintenance, and also since we've been receiving capital funds for this. So you can see there's a substantial amount, and it really is just a whole collective of everything. There isn't one thing that we really focus on, it's everything. So from HVAC to plumbing to our boiler, AV issues, security, replacement parts, even just something from making sure our doors are closing properly. So in fiscal year '23, this property repairs and maintenance line totaled $13,755. And so I just wanted to make sure to outline each of those repairs. That doesn't include any sort of like cosmetic touch-ups or paint or cleaning supplies. So this is just sort of like the hard items that have been replaced or maintained. Going on to page 10, I list our recent capital projects. So computer replacement has been completed, the shades for the trustees room and the community room have been completed, and landscaping is an ongoing project. We're also hoping to release our RFP for siding repairs this month so that we can have contractors come in and bid
You
on
also
that.
need it power washed.
Yes.
Don't you agree?
Yes.
Power washed and maybe some sealant on it, because every time I go there, it's getting more and more mold or whatever.
Yeah. And
And I think it's important we maintain that.
absolutely.
So-
Our window washing company also does a soft wash, so we'll look
Okay.
into that for this year. All right, and then on to page 11 is our budget. And so in total, we are asking for a increase to $646,000 for our budget. And that would represent an increase of $31,000. So for that, again, what that number represents is increasing our digital platform access as requested by our patrons, keeping up with our building maintenance and utilities, and also being able to handle those increases in just regular costs from everything from books to cleaning supplies to cords for computers. It's really just everything that has had that type of increase. So I am happy to answer any questions. I also brought some brochures, just a couple of different ones of the services that we offer and programs as well. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions or have the treasurer and board chair weigh in.
So your increase is 31,000? Yes.
Yes, correct.
Any questions from the board, from the council?
I do. I'm just trying to find, on page 6, you have 4 vacant positions. Is that because of funding, or is that difficulty finding people?
Difficulty finding.
It is, okay.
So those positions are funded. I was wondering about that.
So yes, they are.
Okay.
We're hoping to fill them once our budget goes forward, just so we're ready for the summer. And we felt it was most fiscally responsible to hold off on filling that until we knew about the budget for the next year.
So will that help with it will help with some of the hours?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
I just want to say, I appreciate, you always give us such a detailed report. You and the board do a great job, and you really stay within your budget. You're very fiscally responsible, and we appreciate that. as Sally said, there's only one pie and everyone wants a piece of it, so it really helps. And you provide such a great service for our community.
Thank you.
You're not only a librarian, but you're also a maintenance director, and we've seen that over the last couple of years. And we've complimented you for doing that.
Thank you.
Because you certainly didn't go to school to be a maintenance director, and that's what you ended up being there for a while.
My custodian actually just retired on Tuesday, and I keep saying I'm going to apply for the custodian job, just as a side hustle.
You'd be very good at it.
Thank you.
My question's for Representative Edwards. Is the resolution that many of us have signed on for being well-received at the State House, or? are
Yes.
they-
I mean, libraries around the state are well-regarded.
Yeah.
They're great institutions. All of us have libraries in our districts. So it's, for all of us, it's very, very important. We funded them, I think it was last year, we fully funded them. And we're hoping to fully fund them again this year. It's not a guarantee, but we have less money coming out, and we have a lot more hands looking for more money. So the needs are greatly outweigh what we have, but we're hoping the libraries can be part of what actually gets distributed.
All we can do is try. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike?
Thank you, and again, job well done for all of you. My question is around Hoopla. How is that different than Libby? Because I make great use of Libby. It provides me, especially with the ebooks and the download audiobooks, with enough opportunities, so.
Sure. So the difference is that Hoopla is a pay-per-use platform, and it will only be for Tiverton patrons. Libby is statewide, and you've probably seen some higher wait times. So a lot of libraries have been adopting Hoopla as a way to supplement Libby, so that there's something available for you to borrow whenever you like, and that those wait times will be driven down specifically for our patrons. Another part of it is that the Hoopla platform is, I mentioned pay per use. So we can actually set the level of pricing that we're comfortable with. So there's items that are 99 cents, $1.99, $2.99. So we can say, we'd prefer our patrons be in the $1.99 or below category. So that way, it would be something that we can see how the budget is going with that, and then we would be able to accurately say, you can have 4 borrows, 5 borrows, or 6 borrows per month. So it's more under our control than something like Libby is.
So the user is paying that fee?
No, we are
No,
paying
okay,
that.
Okay.
And just one additional difference is that Hoopla includes streaming music and movies, which you, of course, cannot get through Libby.
Thank you.
Those are both new to me. I didn't hear about it. I don't know about any of those. I get out of this building more.
You need to visit the library.
I would actually like to say something about, because we use the library a lot for municipal services. I spend sometimes more time in that library than I do in my
Me too.
office doing labor negotiations. It is a fabulous facility. And I think those of us who go there recognize that Catherine does a wonderful job there, but it's, it's also a testament that, we don't have the ability to have these kind of conference rooms that are available there. So the town does take advantage of it to the best that we can, and Catherine has always been very amenable to trying to work out. Sometimes those scheduling conflicts can be tough, but we've always found a way to make it work. But it is a great place to do some of the things that we do on behalf of the community from this standpoint. So I think that gets lost, that people don't realize how much that library actually gets used by different entities, not just the town. I know that there are other community organizations that utilize it the same way. So it is a great facility. And actually, I just found that little area with the fireplace. And, I've been going there for how many years now? Now I know where I go do a caucus.
Yeah. Well, we spent 6 hours there on Wednesday,
A
so.
lot of
Yes, we did.
Madam Chair.
John?
My question is around the fees and fines line item. How has that been performance-wise? Because I noticed that budget number went down for last year and then also for this year.
Yes, so that has been an adjustment for us with trying to see where that line will land, because in 2020, we stopped fines for library books. So it was a very minimal amount, but what we did to sort of offset that is we did increase the private meeting room use fee so that we weren't having such a big gap, losing that fine money. So that's mainly for the decrease, is the lack of fines right now, which I will say our patrons have been thrilled about.
My household especially.
Yes. And we also have a lot of folks on a fixed income who, even that 20 cents of 1 day overdue can be just in the mindful sense.
Yeah.
Really devastating. So we want to make sure that we're being responsible as far as the decrease in fines goes, but also finding other areas like the private meeting room fee that we can recoup that cost.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
David?
I would just echo Chris. I think this is phenomenal.
Thank you.
Cal or Jay, would you like to add anything? Catherine's done a really good job, but I just,
She's done an excellent job. I think we could leave it right there.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. And just on an ending note, our strategic plan will hopefully be voted on by the library board next month, but I do have copies of that at the library. So if you're interested in seeing what our patrons have asked for the next 5 years, I'm more than happy to provide that.
Can you keep me apprised of how you, as you go through the process of changing your website, because
Yes,
it might be something the town might look at as part of our capital planning as well.
sure.
Ours is fairly old and stale, and it might make sense to do something joint.
Absolutely. I'll keep you apprised. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, just as a, we received our new budget, and that was with all the changes we discussed. Everything in green is what we've already done. And we're doing really well. Chris and I tried to put,
So, there's one item I did need to bring, when we met last Saturday? I think when we met last,
2 weeks, I think it was 2 weeks.
So, we had discussed, this docket is the exact same, the only change I made was, you'll see council contingency is now going up. What we did was we took the paving money out, and I forget to do the other part of that equation, is to put the money back in either a fire or police department. I only used 200,000. I took 300,000 out of paving, and I put 200,000 back in council contingency for the contractual negotiations. And it didn't change the rates or the computation of where the tax rate would be, because we also found out the tangible taxes that are gonna be offset by the state, the town is gonna receive about 200,000. So it's a wash. So I just wanted to put, that would be the only real change that you would see in this document.
Yeah, and the reason for that is we're gonna have that money,
We're gonna take the surplus.
we're gonna have that money left over, so instead of putting it into the general fund, we've put it into a restricted account, and we're able to make paving zero.
Right.
And take care of paving. But we're gonna have to have a transfer, we're gonna,
Before the end of this year.
before the end of the year, that'll come on the agenda. So it's only the yellow we needed to worry about, and we actually did a pretty good job in the last few weeks, because I think we'll have everything done by the time we're done today.
What did you say the contingency fund was?
It was 550, I moved it up by 200,000.
But it's not reflected here.
It is reflected there. It's on the council contingency.
Yeah, it's highlighted yellow, 750.
Wait a minute, what are you looking at?
Am I looking at the wrong,
Page 2.
It would be on page 2.
is this A1?
Yeah, you're definitely looking at the wrong one, because mine are printed front to back.
All right, wait a
It
minute.
says, on top it says in red, after 413.
I have what, I'm looking,
So we had printed some out before the meeting. I just made this adjustment yesterday, and I did it Thursday, because I did discuss it with the president as well.
oh, all right,
So
wait a
so
minute.
that's why the ones you have on your desk today are,
Too many pieces of paper.
Is
yeah, I
what-
know, and I also should have changed the date, but
I have so much to shed at some point.
I thought I
All
showed
right,
it
so-
on mine.
well, I didn't want to.
So, well, all right, I see what we did, but everyone needs to know, you increased the, I know what you did.
So all
So
those
it didn't add to the bottom line?
No, I did not,
Okay.
I added 200,000 to the bottom line, but I have $2,000 in revenue that we didn't have.
Okay, okay.
So, and it does, it's not reflected in the budget committees, because when I spoke, I did tell them I was gonna talk to the council about this. It was something we had talked about in our last meeting, and while I
Yes.
did take the paving out, I forgot to put it back into the, either the salary accounts or the council contingency. And I didn't do all 300, I only did 200.
But how much did we originally give to paving?
300.
300, so you only gave them 200.
I put 200 in for salaries. And the rationale for that is, we're never gonna be able to fill all those positions by the end of next year. Even though
Right.
I'll give you a fiscal impact on what they would all be, they all wind up being close to $700,000, and that's why that's.
Okay. And
but you
at
still
any
need money for
time,
contingency
we can
too.
transfer money
You can.
into paving if we needed to?
Correct.
Okay, and probably think about that at the end of the year.
And what was in that restricted fund? There was money in that restricted
So
fund
it's right.
Denise can
anyway?
tell us that.
And then there will be money after the end
We're
of
gonna
this
take-
fiscal year?
Yeah, so
We have
it's
some
it's
surpluses.
building it.
25%, correct?
Yeah, it's building it. All right, so our new budget is on the table if anyone wants to look at it.
So there's a budget, a tax worksheet, a revenue projection, and what we had projected for revenue this year. The 4 documents.
All right, Denise, we'll try you again.
Yeah, I think hers is the only budgets we haven't,
Yeah, yeah.
and that would be on page 5.
And then we have to look at boards and commissions and civics too.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so we'll start with 2140, which is the treasurer's office
Correct, on page
budget.
5.
Yep.
Page 5.
Well, yep.
It is what it is.
Sound like a treasure.
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory.
It's, I'm requesting a bit of a raise this year.
Good.
Well deserved.
Thank you. It's not
Everyone
something
needs
I've
to know
done.
at times she doesn't even accept raises. So, really, we tried to give you a raise once and you said, no, it's okay. So,
That's why
I'm
the
not
number
going to
is.
say no anymore.
So I will say on her behalf, because she won't tell you, that I know that we have received a ton of grants in the last couple of years. And it's more daunting for her office to manage those because not only do we get the monies and we have to account for them, and they're transparent about how we do it, there's also a single audit component that goes to it. She has more reporting requirements to deal with those. So in dealing that with the state transparency portal and all the rest of it, it is more work on her office. So we keep adding more and more work to it, and we never say that we're adding more and more work to it.
And each funder has different requirements
They
too.
do.
Everybody has different requirements, and one thing that I think, as we move forward into the 21st century and everybody's going online and doing more and more things online with OpenGov and Viewpoint, the moorings going online, the beach fees going online, Park Mobile, all of that, a component of that ends up in our office. And it has created more work for all of us. So we kind of, I try to delegate who's doing what, but it's making it easier for the residents, for most of them, who want to go online and do those things. But, the money, while it always ended up in our office, it just ends up differently now. And there's a lot more hoops to jump through to get it. So we've been able to, we're still working with 3 of us, and, we're just chugging along.
Well, it's more work and it's different work that your
It's
staff
different
have to be
work.
trained in doing.
It's different work, right. It's definitely different work than it was before. So, payroll keeps going up. There's not that many shows in town, but we are going to be looking at something next year. So, we had already set to meet with somebody, and time just got away from us, and it's like, okay, now it's a little bit too early, but I have a fantastic staff, and we can figure that out and see what we can do. Everything else pretty much stays the same.
I was just, I think your statement at the beginning that it is what it is, I think is fairly accurate for your office, but you and your team do a phenomenal job down there, so
Thank you.
we're getting exceptional value for money out of that department as a town.
We got an entire treasurer's office for this kind of money. I mean, that's-
Yeah.
I mean, they do a ton of work.
Thank you.
And I think that the average citizen doesn't recognize that because you're kind of in the back there and it's behind the scenes and it gets done, you know, and
And they're all very friendly.
they're
Well,
friendly.
I show up there quite often asking the same questions. And they're always very good to me, especially you. Every year it's the same questions, but I'm a nurse, not an accountant, so I need it explained.
And that's understood, and we say that often when things come across our desk. I said it yesterday. I said, she's not an accountant. You know, like, people will ask us questions, and we'll be like, didn't they already ask us that? But, you know, that's our job, so.
Denise, how many years have you been treasurer now?
12.
12. And that has shown the level of professionalism that you brought and continue to bring, and that stability really has shown a huge difference from some years where we had some less than professional elected treasurers. And so I appreciate that.
I appreciate you saying that. I had somebody come in a couple of weeks ago, and she said, I don't read about your office in the paper anymore. I said, that's the goal. That is the number one goal.
So that wasn't my office then.
To use a football analogy, you're the Pro Bowl left tackle that nobody knows their name, but every single year you're there holding it down, so.
Thank you. So
But,
we'll move on
Move on to
to,
insurances, and I do know you have some adjustments.
I have a couple adjustments.
2190?
2190 on page 6. So I have from here,
Did we get that?
I didn't get the adjustments.
Okay.
huh?
They're only a couple. There's 2 swaps on one.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So,
think we'll
you know,
just
we
take
had
them
an
in both
increase from the trust in health insurance. So we applied that increase to, you know, where we're at now, but when I review from now till the end of the year and what I'm proposing for next year, I just want to move 100,000 from active to retirees.
So that's just a swap from account 5268 to 5269, correct?
Yep. And as people retire during the year, we can't always swap them immediately. We might have to wait out till the end of the calendar year and then swap them. So there's always an adjustment between those two accounts if the person retiring, like police and fire, are still entitled to their health insurance.
Yep.
So it just kind of skews that. And,
You had a couple of reductions that you
yeah,
wanted?
so I think we can go to 60,000 in 5270 for the active dental and 15,000 for the active retiree. So we're gonna
Are those-
come
those are
down 20.
Both dental?
Those are both dental,
Okay.
yep.
So where was the second one?
So the 75 goes to 60, the 25 below it goes to 15. So it's 15 and 25.
80 to 60, and the 20,000 down to 15,000.
Right.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Those two lines.
So it's a reduction of 25.
Everything else for insurance checks out. I mean, we may be getting the bill before you even approve this budget, but we get billed once a year for the liability and workman's comp. And, you know, they don't give us any indication of what that's going to be until we actually get the bill. So,
So that brings that bottom line to 3626740? Is that accurate? Okay.
yes. The audit account, the bill for next year is 45,000. I mean, you could shave a couple thousand off of there if you wanted to. I mean, we never-
45?
45, and we split that with the school.
Okay.
Okay.
But the school sometimes pays a little bit more because they have UCOA and a couple of other. So
Because there's a little bit more involved on that side.
they, the auditors will usually designate, like, last year we paid 23,150, so.
So if we brought that to 23,150, that might be our 24?
I would say 24.
24?
To be safe. I mean, if I ever had to have another request, we'd have to pay for it.
So Denise, we took a total of 25 out of the insurance account. I can give you the breakdown, but at the bottom line there is 3,626,740.
I have a question on the insurance too.
Yeah.
So, I think it's been pretty consistent on the group life side. When was the last time we bid that out?
I think this is the third year we're in,
Okay,
so
we're coming up.
it's coming up.
Okay,
It's
thank
been
you.
relatively consistent,
Yeah,
and since we kind of moved away from carrying the retirees, it's been significant.
And then
So
we,
I'm
no,
sorry.
I'm sorry, I was just telling Denise, we shaved 1,000 off the
Audit.
audit.
The reason for the decrease in the dental was that,
There was a rate decrease.
okay,
And the retiree dental specifically is, when someone retires now, they are not getting dental, just health. In the past, they were getting both. So we're still carrying
the ones prior.
yes.
So is this the same plan that the schools are on?
We all buy through the trust. Dental went down slightly. We both had an increase in health. They have different health plans than we do. We have the HSA. They have a different plan. They don't have an HSA, they have.
they have full boat,
Health-
BCBS, and we have,
Health Mate Coast to Coast,
yeah.
those kind of products.
The full boat is more expensive than the HSA, yeah,
But the dental's the same?
because the HSA puts
think
more on
so.
the
I
employer.
don't
So their
know.
dental should
Yeah.
decrease also then on the school side?
It was a very small, like less than 1%, I think. I don't recall. Do you recall? I mean, it was, woo-hoo, it's a decrease, but it wasn't anything, it wasn't anything significant.
No, it's 25,000 on the town side, so.
So jumping down to 2220 pension plans, the first two are fixed numbers. The fire department and then all of the MERS and TIAA is a calculated number based on the salary figures that are in the budget. So fire rate is 21.01%. MERS is between 4 and 6, depending on which group you're in, and TIAA is 1%. So it's a calculated field based on all of the salary figures that reside in the budget.
On the fire, when we moved them over to MERS, was there a huge unfunded liability with it? Is that why that rate is so high?
I went back, and I don't know what made me do this, but when I joined here, the rate was like 10% for the firefighters, and it has just gradually increased over time.
Because this number that we post on our budget, this expenditure, is the town share only.
Town share only.
So they pay
They're
10%
paying in
of their
10%,
salary,
yep.
so that 31% for their pension. I'm somewhat baffled as to why that number's so high. And I
Aren't
know
they-
we get that from the state. It's
Yeah,
not,
it-
it's
yeah,
a
we don't-
calculated number, nothing we can do about it, but it's.
They
I don't
roll
know
that out
why-
every year.
I thought it was 100% funded when we moved them over. So,
Yeah.
When did we move them over? I don't know.
so I was actually the acting administrator back then when I.
So it was before
That's a long time ago.
2011, because 2011, we were paying 10,
I want to say we did this. I was.
You really want me to remember this?
I came in and did like
So what were
6
they
months
on
worth of
before
work
that?
here when Jim Towers left.
what were they on before that?
So.
It was a local,
That was
wasn't
when
Oh.
Jim Towers left?
Right after Jim Towers left, those contracts, that's the one we moved everybody into MERS.
it? Right, it was a local before that, right?
Right, it
Yeah.
was local. So the only one that stayed local was police.
Please. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
remember.
which is
what
a
year
blessing,
it
by
was.
the way.
It wasn't at the time.
At the
because
time,
that
it's
was
not,
sit-
but-
That was sitting in a 5% simple interest account. It's much better today, believe me,
I was on the school committee when you were acting, so that was a while ago.
it was a long time ago, believe me. I did that job and my other job.
I know.
I believe the valuations are actually in the audit report,
Okay, that-
in the
so do we
financials,
get
in
an
one
audit
of the
from them?
notes.
From the, oh, no, I meant
We
from
don't-
MERS. Do we get something from MERS?
We don't get anything from MERS, we have to go get it,
Okay, all right.
but it's also published in the
It just
financial
baffled me. It's
statements.
so much higher than the rest of them.
I know,
All right, okay,
but it's actually come down. A couple of years ago, it was 24%.
okay, all right.
And then Social Security, the same thing, it's a calculated field based on the salaries. Unemployment, we've always stuck with 15,000 over the years. And then you've got your unfunded liabilities,
Or OPEBs.
OPEB contribution, and your regular, for payouts. I don't know if you noticed on your last report, but OPEB is, our fund balance in OPEB is actually just hit over $1 million.
Good.
Good.
I mean, it's a drop in a bucket, but
It is, but it's, you know,
it's,
it's progress.
it's progress.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to do the total bottom line there for us.
Any questions while Mike's doing that? Good job,
We
Denise.
took out 26.
Thank you.
Yeah, 26.
So the total for financial administration is 6,524, 575.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep. Any other questions?
I think that was it for Denise.
Yeah, that's it for Denise.
You have boards and commissions and civic appropriations.
Yeah, so,
And I just wanted you to note on page 11, you'll see where I did take the paving out. I highlighted that yellow for you as well.
oh, okay.
I have just one question before we move on from you, because I very quickly tried to dive into the MERS thing and see if there was a delta in funding. On the Social Security line item, the 2250, I'm assuming that's a combination of both our full-time and part-time employees?
It's everything.
Okay. So do you happen to know, and this is, we can follow up later, but what breakdown of that is coming out of the part-timers?
Our part-time population is pretty much just the summer people.
Yep.
We have 3 part-timers at the senior center, 1 part-timer here, and the summer people, in addition to what the part-timers they have at the library, but they cover that.
Yep.
So it's a fairly small,
Isn't there some in the police department too?
there's the
Yeah,
The
Crossing
summer,
guards.
security.
the summer
The
guys.
summer security.
The summer, right,
Yeah.
so the summer people are pretty much the population of our part-time people. One of them at the senior center is covered by a grant, so there's 2 that are, I know where you know, the question that you're asking.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can very easily come up with the list of them and their salaries and see what, you know, where you're going with that.
Yeah, okay. We
I
can-
get concerned about the age of the kids that are in the summer, like, will they really know what that change was, and would they be able to manage it? That's all.
There's nothing really for them to manage. It's
No.
just, the sole investment option is a fixed interest account, so by federal statute, they can only do
And you can only
what
do
the
it for
vehicle is.
part-time people?
It's only part-timers, yeah. But my thought process here is, perhaps if the school's gonna go that direction, maybe we could kind of band together and
Well,
offload some of the costs of administration, so, which are nominal anyways.
and that is a gross number right there.
Yeah.
So that number, it's really hard to tell. It doesn't reflect if people are in the HSA, you know, because your HSA, the money that you put in your HSA is Social Security, it's not taxed. So you could back that down a little bit.
Yeah,
But
Not
if you were
much.
part-timers, that wouldn't be.
Right, no. But I mean, you know, that could get backed down a little bit.
I'm just
That's
thinking, hey,
based
if we
on
could
gross
find
salary.
$10,000,
I know.
there's a copier.
Believe me.
All right.
Thank you.
So page 13 would be the,
I don't know if you guys brought, this was given to us
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah.
I don't know if you brought it with you.
Do you need me?
Right, this was,
I don't think I need to.
No, I'm going to hang around.
Enjoy.
nothing better to do on a Saturday. We got this last week, I believe,
Yeah, last time.
last time.
So as I described, I did, and
You
the budget,
bottom lined
everything's
it.
level funded from
Yeah.
the FY '24 budget. But I thought it was fair that, so you should see what they've asked for and why. Because I don't want to interpret yours, on behalf of you. If you've got something you want to bring to the table and increase or decrease, that's your prerogative. But I knew it was going to be a really tight budget, so I just took the
Yeah.
part of the level funded.
I mean, I was looking at the litter. They wanted to go up to 5,000 and they only got 500. I mean, that's a big increase.
What's the justification?
Cleanup supplies, marketing, T-shirts, social media, sponsored social media advertisements. They did say that they requested a budget of 3,000 last year, of March of 2023, after never previously being made aware of the option to submit a budget, and we've only given them 500. In the past, we have operated on no budget, funding most expenses out of pocket, which is true. I think we just added that. This is not ideal or sustainable, especially as a committee looking to make a more meaningful difference in cleaning up Tiverton. We are requesting more this year to account for a portion of the funds we had not granted last year.
So I do think to the extent that there are requests for materials like bags
Yeah.
and gloves,
Well-
things like that, we can do that through DPW and provide those. I don't necessarily think that that should be somebody's, a voluntary board to, I mean, it just need to tell us what they need and we'll go acquire it for them.
I mean, I'd be willing to make them at 1,000, give them 500 more. Do you want to give them more than that?
Well, I
I'm not
mean,
giving
how
them-
much, do we have any other boards and commissions, for example,
Yeah,
that
well-
use social media advertising? Not,
Yeah, I know what you're
I'm
saying.
not sure that we do.
Well, I also think we should have a policy on social media
Right.
before we would allow it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of, I wasn't thinking of social media more than signage, flyers, printouts, banners. Like that would be, to me, worthwhile sponsoring as far as social media.
And I recognize that, I guess I would want to see when they say out-of-pocket expenses, what expenses are being taken out of pocket, and are they expenses that we would want to pay for?
Well, like Chris said too, I mean, DPW could buy 30, 40
Right.
pairs of gloves in bulk and have them available for anybody that wants to go pick up litter.
Because I know some of the places, they really.
I do it at Grinnell's, there's some hairy stuff to pick up.
We have a lot of very good volunteers in this town, and I know it goes unnoticed.
And even the mention of T-shirts, we've got some APRA money, I mean, could we get it? Lime green, select amount of shirts, and if somebody wants to go pick up litter and wear it, great. Do we have to put it in
I can
here?
tell you that a lot of what they buy is like the tools, if you will. The spike things or the claw things and, that kind of stuff, rakes, whatever. And like you said, they clean up in a lot of areas that could be dangerous almost. And they need protective gear. They're not gonna get all that from DPW. And they're buying that currently out of their own pockets.
See, I guess, Jay, that's what I want to see. I want to see what exactly they're looking to purchase, because there may be other ways we can do that, and if not, then we can consider whether or not we provide it through their budget, or through, maybe some of it is capital, and we just use some of our capital money for it.
All right.
Madam Chair.
I thought we had, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You're
After
gonna
you.
make a motion?
No.
I thought that we had given them bags and, I
Well,
think we
we had
gave.
told them where to go and get them. I don't know if that's happening.
And do they want like cloth, like gardening gloves?
I don't know,
Because-
because I'll be honest, I haven't been to that meeting since.
I think that we gave them like plastic gloves, like a,
I'm gonna reach out, I can reach out.
no. But
do you
that's
think
what I
Jay's
was,
the
that's what I was
liaison, isn't he?
thinking.
You're
Are
the
you the
liaison.
liaison?
Yeah, they need more like what we call work gloves.
But could we-
And keep in mind, it's not just for the few people that are on.
Right, it's the
I mean,
volunteers.
they have events and
Right,
volunteers show
right.
up. They come without all these materials, and they give them to them to use at least.
John has-
Yeah, can I make a suggestion? Since we seem to be operating in a slight vacuum here, maybe we stick this on our next council and have them show up? And,
Well, Just to go a little-
Ask somebody to show up and just kind of give us some justification, make the decision then?
Yeah, or we put something in there, and then we have to do a preliminary budget.
Yeah, so we
So
have
we
to do
still
this
have the
soon.
opportunity to adjust that before the
All
final
right,
budget.
so my suggestion would be we leave it where it is, and then we tell them that this is preliminary, and we'd like to talk to you about what it is you're looking to do.
Yeah, and if you go through this, I mean, everyone is asking for a substantial amount of money. Like the Tiverton Historic Cemetery, we gave them $3,500 last year. Chris kept it at $3,500, they want $4,500.
I can tell you when that is.
Go ahead.
Part of that is.
Didn't we buy them some tool or something? last year?
We bought them at our.
And tools, yeah.
As with everything else, landscapers' fees have gone up, not just a little bit, quite a bit. And the lion's share of that ask is because of that. But again, we got 5 people taking care of 80 cemeteries. And they, and including me, have used some of their own money and resources to fund the things they do. And things cost more.
All right, and then, okay, so the historic cemeteries went up. I don't see anything for the Art Council, they didn't give you anything?
Do they have a chair now?
Okay. Yeah, so we gave 500. Open Space wants to double their ask.
Again, they also,
They have money in an account.
and we also provided them an increase in the, I know it's an acquisition, but they also, their obligation to maintain what they buy,
Yeah.
so.
So they asked for 6,000, and there's a whole,
And I will say, to the extent that when Brian does come before us with projects that the town is not shied away from trying to either take care of some of the legal costs or the, things that, as it relates to some of the transactions that they get involved in.
right.
I have a question on Personnel Board.
I was gonna,
Oh, sorry, we're going in order?
that's what I thought we'd do,
All right.
because I kind of went out of order and it confused us. Conservation wants to keep it bottom line at 500. Packet open space, then we have litter, and we talked about litter. So the tree commission didn't ask for anything more. Fort Barton Park maintenance,
Is that this right here?
is
Okay.
that open space commission again?
Yeah, it was specific to, I think, fixing up the readout.
It's a joint,
So they're asking for, I'm so confused.
They have a grant for that also, I
Yeah.
believe.
so we funded this project up there that they're doing now, but that's,
Okay.
but I don't
They've
know
cleaned
what-
up a lot
Yeah,
up
they
there.
do a good job, but it's, again,
Yeah, we gotta be careful.
I think that they went for the grant because it had not been cleared for many years. And it was very overgrown.
Okay, so then we have litter, we just I talked about recycling committee.
they haven't even been active.
They're not even active. You wanna keep
Like I said, I
that,
just level funded it, because,
you wanna even fund them at all, cause they
yeah,
haven't
because
done
I do think
anything.
at some point we need to get them
Okay.
active again. That's
And then personnel.
Is that that's the landfill, right? That's what we're calling it?
the recycling altogether.
Yeah, landfills, yeah, we don't have any members.
I think the Rices were the last ones that we had.
Yeah, and they
No, I
left.
thought we didn't appoint somebody to recycling recently.
No, we did, you're right.
I thought we
It was a
did.
new person in town, but there's not even enough members to
I don't think they
have a
have
meeting.
meetings. Personnel board, John, where'd you find their,
It was in the packet. The question, so I know Chris level funded them at 250. My suggestion was gonna be to zip recycling committee down to 100 and shift 50 over to personnel because the cost, it says right here, their cost of their post office box is $300.
okay.
Who's post office box?
Personnel board.
Personnel has a post office box. That's where they get all the,
Resumes, yeah.
yeah. All right, so you wanna make that 300?
Yeah, and do the recycle committee down to 100.
Okay.
Because again, we don't have any,
And then the
One
budget
member.
committee, that's for filming?
For what?
That's for filming, and we did not
You
film.
didn't even film.
We did not film, but is that something we want to address?
We should film.
We
Yeah.
should, really.
So if you look at this, they must still have the 800 in there?
Probably.
Yeah, so it'll be scooped.
So you want to make it 0?
No, because then they won't have any money for next year.
Yeah, so if you leave
So
it.
you scoop what's
Oh,
left.
it's
You
gonna be
scoop what's
scooped.
left. and
You're
then-
right, you're right. All right, so we'll keep that at
Well, the
800.
budget committee wasn't only, at least when I was on it, my last year, it wasn't only for filming. It
Well,
was
Michael's
also
right there.
for a stenographer, which we borrowed from the town clerk's office, but still had to be paid.
Yeah. Michael, is 800 good for you?
Or,
Your
The
budget?
budget.
The budget for the budget committee?
we haven't used a penny of it, so. 700. I don't know that there's any-
No, but I really think we should be filming, and I know, but we don't have, there's so many meetings going on that we don't really have the personnel to do it. But we get it,
And the number of meetings has decreased significantly, right, from the former
yeah.
way we did the budget?
Yeah.
We still met weekly
yeah.
from
Okay,
February,
okay,
up till Thursday.
okay.
Let's just leave it at 800.
Leave it in here. And then the historical preservation. Does anybody, oh, here it is.
They're asking for 5.
They're asking for 5. Purchasing frames for town hall exhibits
I'm fine with that.
in town and printing a booklet. Yeah, I'm fine with increasing them to 100 more.
So that brings that to 11,700.
I think that's reasonable.
I'm still gonna ask for the Historical Cemetery Commission's ask.
To give them 1,000 more?
Well, I think just like the, was it open space or conservation, whichever one it was, I think we roll with this for preliminary and just have them come.
Well, I think because they're
talk to us.
big changes,
Yeah.
they need to justify them in
Yeah.
person.
So the open space, historical cemetery, and litter.
Yes,
Those are the 3.
we'll keep them as such, and Mike, you're gonna be doing the next meeting,
Yep.
so we'll put, which I was gonna talk to you if you were gonna do the agenda or me.
Yeah, we can figure that out.
Okay. I won't be at the next meeting. And then
Civics?
civic appropriations.
Madam President,
So let me, I'm sorry, go ahead.
do I need to recuse from the entire conversation on Civic or just the Tiverton Fire Rescue?
Just the different fireworks.
Okay.
Before we get to there, economic development, did they give you a different budget? Because that wasn't in the boards and commissions.
Whatever they gave Mary Lou is what I have on here.
Okay. I thought,
No, they're separate. They are,
They're under,
and we've already done them.
right, I know, but you had said,
They're on
Right.
page 13.
right, they're right above. But I thought we talked about making sure that they didn't have additional requests.
So I'll put a question mark on that, but
Okay.
I'm sure, I'll
6,200, page 13.
bring it up for the next meeting.
Okay.
Economic development. Feel like recreation.
yeah, we increased them a little, but that was because of the supplies and miscellaneous. So was that a request from her?
I'm not sure.
Okay. All right, civic appropriations.
So Samaritans only asked for 5.
We only got
These are
5.
basically the same and they have been for the last 80 years.
Well, we actually cut some of these down a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Because people weren't taking it, and it was just going back into the general fund, so.
3,
Newport Mental Health,
looking for 3 instead of 2.
we increased them by quite a bit last year. We gave them $1,500 more.
Yeah, I would just, my note with that is with the work that they're doing with the police department, they're really investing a lot into Tiverton residents. So just to consider whether or not we want to adjust that up a little bit.
So don't forget, we also provided them monies from opioid, 52,000.
Oh, true,
Right,
true,
so,
true.
and I'm assuming that's gonna come back around, so that's gonna be back before us pretty soon.
True.
All right, so leave it
Wanna
as
leave
is.
that as
Okay,
that for now?
yep.
And then visiting nurses, does anyone see? It went by to East Bay.
Have they taken theirs the last couple of years?
Yes.
They did. I think they didn't at one point, but then they did.
They
the last
became,
couple
don't you
years.
remember, they became quite the conversation once with the budget committee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certain members of the budget
Yeah.
thought they were useless and immaterial, which I totally disagree with.
So we'll leave them at 5,000. East Bay wants to double it. Well, they are applying for 10,000. They write the same amount as for the past few years. But
You know, a lot of
according to
these,
this, it's 5,000.
these are
Well,
all.
no, they may have applied for 10,000, we only gave them
Oh, we only
5,000.
gave them
Yeah,
5,000.
I'm assuming that,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
These are a lot of our mental health,
Well,
health
isn't
and
this,
safety in our
the food banks,
community.
too?
And the need is greater and greater.
Keep in mind, we also have a new police department now.
so, yeah, we've added the Kodak cooperative agreement, we've added the Newport County Mental Health cooperative agreement.
I mean, I'm a big fan of EBCAP. At the same time, most,
I don't know.
I'd have to
I
look
do
it
know
up.
that they deal a lot with mental health issues.
But at the same time, they haven't increased their footprint here, and many of those services are paid for by other means directly.
I think that's the rationale as to why.
So what do you suggest, Mike?
I think we keep them at 5 unless they
Okay.
want to justify further.
Okay.
Is that the East, that's the East
That
Bay?
is- Yeah,
East Bay
EBCAP,
Community,
yeah.
EBCAP. And then, what else am I missing? Newport County, did we have anything?
Yeah, Women's Resource.
Yeah. Women's Resource. So
We
they
gave
have,
them 5, they asked for 750.
we gave them,
This, in the budget, it's 5, they asked for 750.
it's at that, am I,
Oh,
Yeah.
am I looking at the wrong line? Oh, I'm
No,
sorry.
you're looking at the right
Oh,
one.
you're looking at-
oh, okay. I thought you meant we gave them 5,000.
No,
No, 500.
You're asking for 750, what do you think, guys?
Everybody else is getting level funded.
Yeah. Well,
I'd be curious to see what our domestic violence call rate is by the police. Has it increased?
I can ask the chief, I know he provides those metrics, I
Right.
don't have it off the top of
Yeah, I don't have it with me either. Because, I mean, that's a key component that they
Yeah.
provide service to that other agencies don't. And it's more confidential for women especially, to be able to use those services.
I said we bump it to 750.
I would agree with that.
all right. Cons-
750?
They gave us quite the backup, too.
Oh, they did, that,
Yeah.
So Eastern Rhode Island,
yeah, I think we should keep that at 1,000.
I do have John use them periodically with some of the farming issues.
We give them 1,000, they want 1,500.
But we don't use them that much.
Okay,
I do know the community uses them
okay.
periodically.
So we'll leave that at
Keep that
that.
in 1,000.
So this is, why is this in Civic Appropriations, Pecasset Hill?
I don't know, but it's always been there.
Huh.
Well, isn't that the veterans plots?
Maybe.
think
Yeah,
that's
because they're
why-
talking
Oh, it
about
is.
POW flags and
I
stuff.
think that's why
Oh,
it's a
so it
little
goes to,
different.
who gets it?
The cemetery commission, I think, oversees it, right? And then this is
Okay.
just a separate
Okay,
piece.
okay.
So they haven't asked for anything more,
They haven't asked for anything more for years.
for all those flags.
Flags, POW flags.
Yeah.
American flag.
And then fire community training.
So this is where Dave, I think, needs to recuse, right? Yeah.
And I did speak to Danny.
Well, it's
Murphy.
the same
I
amount.
did speak to Danny Murphy about it, he thought the number was fine.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, you can come back.
That was fast.
Garden club,
I think we should double it, but that's just me. I bring this up every single year,
you a
too.
gardener? Yes,
No,
you are.
I mean, I'm not a very good one, but they,
Yeah, they
so
do.
they, I
yeah.
mean, and for anybody watches at home, like when you pull off the highway, like,
Yeah.
and you see the garden plots and they're always out there working away.
Well, they asked for 900,
So,
right? Am I looking at this right? Yeah.
Take care of 3 spots, right?
they're
More
pretty
than that.
prominent ones though. They're, and,
But they
even,
also do the town, they plant
they
stuff
do
up
out here,
here.
they do, down at Grinnell's too.
So they also provide at Christmas, all the wreaths for the town.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, so they do provide things. They do an excellent job.
Yeah.
And I bet you they probably go to
Again, it
Leo's
goes
and put their
unnoticed,
own
but-
cash on it.
No, I'll
They
tell
definitely
you,
do.
I think that Leo's gives them a Leo's does give them a discount, so we get a bang for our buck for this also, I
So are
believe.
we doing anything with that?
Yeah, we can make it 900.
Love it.
John wants to do it every year, we'll give him his way this year.
So in our packet, there's looks like a new request from the Wildlife Clinic of Rhode Island.
Oh, they've done this before.
Okay. And I just want to know, I mean, yeah, I think they probably do provide some good care for some of those wild animals. At the same time, in this, they say with an estimated animal care cost of $154 per animal, $98.56 to care for the patients brought in from Bristol in 2023. And then at the last paragraph, we're respectfully requesting a subsidy of $1971.20 to assist with the cost of care for the Narragansett patients.
I think we just disregard this because I think they just,
Well, that's what we did, I don't know. My
mean-
memory, it was a couple of years ago, they requested something, we decided not to.
I'm in agree, if they don't even know what town they're asking for the money
We
from,
did many years
Do you
ago.
remember?
We
I agree.
did
You
give
have
them
to
money many years
Have
ago.
somebody else proofread.
When I was first on Budget Committee,
But then I
10
think
years
we,
ago.
But it was the 16,000.
And then, then they
16,700.
didn't come back. Yeah.
so we increased that by 16,700.
Yep.
Okay. Library was done.
At school.
Not yet. There
Oh,
are
no.
two other items before that, and they're perfunctory, they're ministerial, they're,
Oh, and I
police
have,
cops grant and the SRO sharing grant that we do at schools. We do this every year. The cops grant is in this last year, and then the half what we pay the SRO is up from the school. And then it's the schools.
so they just are what they are?
Down there. It's funny to vote, but
All right.
well, we're gonna vote this as a whole,
Yeah.
probably on Monday. I don't think I put vote, did I? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think you did, but we need to,
Not Monday, I mean,
we need to update all the changes so that we have a good number.
I'm talking about if you do it at the next town council meeting, you're still within the deadline.
okay.
So
Well-
we'll get all the,
Do you want, I mean, we've already just done a bunch of this stuff. Do we want to formalize it now so that we can have everything in green when we get to the next meeting? Minus,
so just make a vote,
So,
a preliminary vote.
and if that's the case,
So-
I'll make the
so-
motion right now.
That's fine, but you still need to vote on the
Your
school number.
schools.
and then-
Correct.
And while I'll take that in, I'll correct them. I know you have some public comment that still needs to be done. It
Well-
won't take me long to make these minor adjustments.
So if I may, Madam Chair?
Can we wait till the, why don't we wait till the end,
Okay.
at the end of the meeting? The budget committee,
We still have those appropriations that we're questioning too.
yeah, but
But
we.
this is all preliminary.
Once we do the preliminary budget, we have 30 days to make any changes before we have the hearing. And
So
I-
we're gonna vote, we'll vote on what we have
The prelim
now.
budget has to come below 4%, or no higher than 4%. We can't do a prelim budget above 4%.
Oh, no, of course
Right.
not,
I'm just
no.
making that.
Yeah. The budget committee chairman's here. They did send us a recommendation early this morning. He was up.
Thanks, Mike.
And Mike can come and talk to us before we get into the schools to see what the budget committee has decided. And we want to thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
You've
That
been meeting
reflects
every-
in my pay as well.
Ours also.
Thanks. All right, good morning. I'm glad to be here to speak with you all and take this opportunity to talk about what happened this year with the Budget Committee. We met with both the schools and the town, the municipal. Chris was very generous with his time. Joan was very supportive. Thank you both. And We reviewed all the information that was provided. We're kind of a victim of the deadlines. There's a lot of information that's not available to us, and as you sit here today and you've made decisions regarding appropriations, those weren't available to us on Friday. So the number that you got this morning was Thursday. The number that you got this morning, the budget proposal, was based on that information. As you'll see in that appropriation, we gave the municipal side what they had requested with some modifications that Chris had recommended to us, and those numbers are reflected in that number that was provided. The schools, we had a difficult time with. I'm going to state here for the record, the majority of the Budget Committee was in favor of an increase for the schools. We just weren't comfortable knowing what their actual costs were to be able to put a number to that. So what we voted was the MOE, a $1 increase over last year's appropriation, and that is the number that you found in the budget that I sent out this morning to you. You also have some deadlines coming up. As you mentioned, you've got the 13th to provide your preliminary budget. At this point, we had resolutions that I failed to include, which I will do later this morning or early this afternoon to you. They were basically 2024's resolutions that have been approved and on the docket, and we went through them and gave them all. But I understand that there may be some changes in your discussions.
You might have a couple. Some restrictive resolutions that you want for various accounting.
Well, I thought that the snow removal was gonna be an ordinance.
It would be, but that would.
It wouldn't go in the resolution.
So I don't.
No, not the snow. What am I thinking? Snow. Yeah, the snow removal will be a restricted account going forward.
So, right, going forward, but.
For this, yeah,
But for this year, it has to be in the budget.
because we don't have
Part of the
time
or-
to do
We
the
don't have time to do
ordinance.
the double,
So for this year, you wanna make it as a resolution?
it'll be part of the budget ordinance, and then we'll do a follow-up ordinance later, like we did last
All
year.
right, so,
So, and what I spoke to Mike about, now, between the conversation with Joan about past resolutions are adopted by ordinance. But what I don't know is, I know we did the ordinance as the budget ordinance. Now that budget year is done, do those resolutions still stay in effect?
no, they have to
So
be
they all have to be
renewed every
redone.
year.
All right, that's the.
Unless we change them to
But
a
we
standard
have them all,
ordinance.
right?
But we did establish restricted accounts last year in an ordinance for revaluation elections, paving, drainage, curbing, sidewalks, sand, salt, and gravel. And then another one for industrial parkland sales, and then a land conveyance tax. So those are ordinances in place now.
Yeah, we don't have
You
to
don't have
write
to go
into
back in
resolutions.
resolutions, right?
But we do
The only
have-
new one we'll have to do is, I'm sorry, is snow.
And if the budget committee
And if they have
has-
others.
And I want to explain to everybody why we're doing this, is because we tax for this budget, and then sometimes, especially snow, it's been a really mild winter, this goes back into general fund. We feel that if that goes into a restricted, we can bottom line those numbers and not have to worry about it the next budget season, if we have enough there. And I don't know if you watch our meetings, but we keep track of what's in there, and if we have a shortfall, then we will budget it. So we thought snow removal was the perfect one, because every year, the last couple of years, watch this, next year we'll have 5 blizzards. But right now, it makes sense.
Well, and I think, just to add on that, I mean, rather than fully fund as an example, you could always put little bits in over year, establish a balance, and then when we do get the blizzard of 78, we're good.
We have it there. Last year, what we did was we had Rick fill up every shed he had with sand, because we knew sand was going up, and we had, and we're doing it again, because we had
And
a
it's
lot
cheaper
of-
this time of year.
It's cheaper, and we had some leftovers, so we just bought all the sand and for this year out of last year's budget. And I think he's overflowing right now, but we're doing the best we can. So the
Well, and it's
rest,
also to level off those expenses that you just can't be predictive of.
Yeah. And more
You know.
importantly, Rick is really into building sandcastles, so
now we did.
he's an engineer after all.
You did give us the resolutions. I saw resolutions this morning,
I
right?
did not, I think
John, it was in our packet.
It's in one of these things.
If you guys could see my dining room table. All right,
My office is.
Yes, there should be
Still
8.
look at my desk.
Yes, those were submitted
yeah, those are the 8.
to Joan last week after the April 26th meeting or whatever that Thursday prior to this was.
But this is all,
So the ones that Joan has marked section 291, those are no longer needed because
so
those are part of the
those, right,
ordinance.
so we only need 1 and 2. And 8.
Any,
Yeah, because we made all those
Oh, yeah.
ordinances now, so we don't have to worry about it anymore. Okay.
So
So it's one,
if the council approves these, then we'll put those in our actual budget ordinance. And then that'll be for 1 year, and then in the interim, we'll do a permanent
Codify,
ordinance.
yeah.
Without the permanent, yeah. That's
But
what
we-
they want to do, right.
but we do need to put the snow removal resolve in here.
Yeah, it'll be part
So
of
it'll be
the,
4 right now.
right. But if you looked at the budget ordinance from last year, we actually did it as it's a budget ordinance, because it only needs 1 passage, so we don't have to go through that.
Right.
So that's why we did it. So it's part of the ordinance, it's not gonna be a resolution, it'll just be part of the ordinance that, here's the budget, and by the way, we're taking this money and putting it here.
But are you gonna add it here? That's what I'm asking, as a resolve. You're confusing me.
No, the resolve would be part of the ordinance.
Yes, it'll be part of the
Okay,
budget ordinance.
I got it, okay. So Mike, I don't know if you have, so it'll be 4 right now.
That's fine.
Okay.
We wanted to make sure we covered
Oh,
what was in
yeah.
front of us at that time, and that's why
In
they
your
were.
defense, unfortunately, that budget ordinance that we passed, for whatever reason, was sent to the codification company, but was never codified. So I wasn't even looking for it, because I couldn't remember that we did it either, so.
We had it enough.
Good.
It's not
So
necessary.
we covered it.
You did.
All right, Chris, could you make a copy of this, the ordinance one?
Sure.
Oh, I can go do it.
Oh, wait, no, I found it.
You found it, okay.
Too much paper.
I don't know, I know that your committee was, and I agree, they were very, very supportive about trying to do what they thought was right, but without having the financial information in front of them. There was a statement that was gonna come with the budget. I don't know if you've prepared that yet.
I don't have it in front of me. I could
Okay.
paraphrase what was there, but our secretary had the information, and I was
No,
not
that's
able to
fine,
get that
but
prior today.
I do think you want to be clear about why it is what you were doing. It wasn't-
Correct.
This isn't to be penalty, well, I guess
Well,
somewhat is, in that you don't have the information to work with.
right, and that's what I would paraphrase to say is that we had the school's proposal, which was a 4% increase. We looked at their provided information. I attended multiple meetings with the school company and the town council. Other information was provided, some from all of it from the schools in various forums. And as we compared numbers between different provided information sheets, we found discrepancies. And without that ability to get that information rectified and to us fully and understand, there's still questions. And they get the Medicaid reimbursement every year, the state aid. We don't know how those are itemized. And that information is kind of critical if we're going to put a number forward to you that's going to be reflective of their needs and well, what their wants are one thing, but what their needs are and what we could provide them, we don't have that information.
Did you specifically ask for information on those gaps after you found those?
Not those specific ones, because when they came up, it was one or the other member of the committee was looking at it and said, Mike, this doesn't agree with what we have here. And so at that point, we faced the deadline of, actually a week ago, Thursday.
Well, to be honest with you, we still haven't received everything that we asked
So we did
for.
an APRA request,
And we did-
because we actually did a request.
It's been
to go back to
45
March,
days.
yes, and it was almost a month before we had still received nothing on behalf of the town council. So I did a formal APRA request on April 22nd. The deadline on that will be Monday. I did notify the superintendent on Thursday that there was a deficiency in what they did provide in both the fund balance accounts, the Medicaid accounts, in any other resource account that there was no accounting for it. They're simply saying that use monies to offset a structural deficit doesn't provide anybody any information. It doesn't say what it was used for. There's no UCOR account that you can contribute to structural deficit. So I asked, was he gonna respond by the deadline of the APRO request? I don't know what's gonna happen if if the information's coming by Monday. If it's not, I will send something on behalf of the town council to the appropriate authority to ensure that, I just think it's, and I agree with the budget committee, without getting the information for you to make an informed decision, how do you make a decision?
And I agree with Mike too, because I've seen a lot of the different things coming in. I've given up because the numbers are just different. And I'm not an accountant, but I've been doing budgeting for a long time with the town. And I just don't understand how numbers could vary that much. And they're coming in varied. I've given up even trying to figure it out right now. I do want to thank Elaine for coming today. Our only school committee member that showed up. I understand the others had plans, but we also had a deadline to get a preliminary budget. And keep in mind, we have 30 days after this, if we get more information and want to change. But we also have a deadline that's coming up in a week.
I just want to note, we did expect them to be here last Saturday, and they were prepared, and we changed the date. So, I think we do need to recognize that.
But we changed the dates because the information hadn't come in.
I understand that too,
That's
but we
the
had
only-
also
that's
provided
why-
them with a date to be here.
Right. But I had talked to the chairman and 2 weeks before and said, my concern is I don't know how we can meet if we're not getting the information.
I wouldn't want to, and I will, but Elaine has been very good. She's done, she may be minority on the school committee, and I know I don't want her to release anything that was done in executive session. I just don't know if this thing has been resolved with the school administration as far as trying to provide the financial information that the town council has been requesting.
And I'd just add something regarding the budget committee. We have some solid financial performers
You
on
do.
the committee. We have a CFO for a company, we have a CPA on there. Myself, I've done budgets here on the budget committee for several years, as well as in my business background. And when they looked at the numbers and they couldn't reconcile them, for those individuals, it's just a red flag that they can't trust the numbers. And I'm not saying that there's an intentional act on the part of the school committee to deceive anyone, but we just couldn't reconcile the numbers to be able to put forward a budget that would be accurate.
Yeah, and I think in some of my conversations, one of the things that really threw this off was, the school committee voted for a 4% increase in just a bottom line. That was not accompanied by the backup to it. What came to us was the 10% increase, that the superintendent put together, which I don't know that the school committee had wanted him to release, but was released. And I think that's where a lot of the challenges came in terms of trying to understand, because then it was more paper or electronic paper, and just trying to match everything up was challenging. And I just do want to take a moment, because this was a comment in the recent Secana Times attributed to Dr. Sanquioni, where he says the deficit, because there's this ongoing deficit, structural deficit, which I'm not sure how you can have an ongoing structural deficit if you are attempting to address it. The deficit exists without adding one single program or one single position. It's not a problem with the budget. We don't have the revenue to meet the expenses of the school system. It's that easy. Well, my response is it's not that easy. The taxpayers of this town, for good or bad, over time, gave a budget to us on the town side, to the school side. The expectation is you work within that budget. If that means that you can't do something that you really want to do, it means you can't do something that you really want to do. And so it is not that easy, and I understand it's going to be difficult to go back and look at programs that may have to be decreased or eliminated. But again, the taxpayers said all along the way, here's what you get. Good, bad, or indifferent, that's what you work from. You don't build out beyond that and then expect there to be coverage for that structural deficit.
And just to once more reiterate that it is the feeling of the Budget Committee as a majority that we hope that you're able to find some additional money for the schools. And as more information is provided to you and you're able to get a better picture of what their needs actually are, I trust that you'll find that ability. But in our case, we just couldn't give you a number that we felt would be in any way accurate with the information that we had.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If I could just add, I think probably the biggest issue that we're facing, both the Budget Committee and then also us here on the Town Council side, is we're trying to find out what it actually costs to run the schools. And we're being told, you know, here's a level services budget. Well, we don't know what services have been added, what services have been funded with one-time money. I've attended a number of the school committees meetings, as has everybody else here. And one of the common threads that I've heard, not Ms. Pavo, but another member of the school committee has said repeatedly that over the years, they've spent money that they didn't have, they knew what they were doing, and they did it anyways. And so we need to start, at least my opinion on this council now that we're taking this up, is we need to start from zero and figure out what the schools actually need to operate and eliminate a lot of the stuff that was added. So for instance, one of the programs that keeps coming up, and again, not from Ms. Pavo, thank you for being here, by the way, is the Bridge program, which was entirely funded by ESSER monies for learning loss from COVID. Well, those monies are gone. That means that program should be gone. And yet in every presentation, that program is still put forward as something that was there. And I understand that the school committee at some point voted to make that a permanent program, but they don't have the funds to do it. So I would like to know what it is that they've added since 2019 that, you know, they used one-time dollars to fund that they now expect us to foot the bill for on an ongoing basis. Because it's not, I think the biggest confusion piece, at least for a lot of the parents, myself as a parent as well, is when we hear level services, we think, okay, teacher in the classroom, a principal in the school system, buses bringing kids to school, but there's a lot of other stuff that's buried in there. And even with what we've gotten, it's very difficult to understand where that is.
There's the paper program too, right?
Yeah, so they paid that upfront for, I believe, 3 years out of ESSER money. So that should, in the future,
It's done.
it's done, I thought it was one more year. One more year. Yeah, one more year. So next year, if they keep that in, then there has to be a reduction somewhere else.
It's not fair to the taxpayers either. They vote to give you 4% and you spend 8%. And I think that's just wrong. And this year, we did give them 3% this year, and they've overspent once again. And it's not fair to the taxpayers who give us an amount of money and say, this is what you have to spend. We've spent one-time money, but on one-time items. That's what we've done.
So for the last, since at least 2019, or even earlier, this town has always provided a legally conforming budget. I'm not trying to make any aspersions. We follow the law. The max you can ask for is 4%. It falls under the guidelines of what the tax cap is. They've gotten, granted, the only year that I know of is the COVID year where we all took a beating. But after that was 4%, 3%, and all the capital and all the other things that the town's provided on behalf of education. The town of Tiverton has been very supportive of the schools. The issue boils down to is that there was a $4.7 million surplus that was related from Medicaid expenditures. And I don't care what you call it, whether you call it fund balance or Medicaid. The issue is the town paid 100% of those expenditures up front as part of their appropriation, whether it was our appropriation and a combination of state aid. When a reimbursement came in, it went into a fund. That fund, now, that reimbursement that was paid, reimbursed back to the town or the school district, is not something that now gets added to the budget. You don't fund it 100% and then fund the reimbursement too.
Yeah.
So that's, for all the years I was on the budget committee, and I know Sally can attest to this, we had a working relationship when I was on the budget committee with the school administration about, you have these funds, what are you gonna use them for? use them for one-time projects, and they always did, and they always demonstrated what they were going to do. The budget committee attested to it the following year, and it was always a very good practice of doing paving, roofs, boilers, windows, whatever they need to do for the septic system was always a one-time expenditure to use those funds for, not operational funds that could never be sustained.
Well,
And that's the problem that we're in. Those, take ESSER out of it altogether, because that was a grant. It's no different than Title I or, all those other grants that they get.
It is different, because Title I, Title II, IDEA are every year.
But if it goes away,
ESSER goes away.
it
Right,
doesn't mean that
right.
the local appropriation picks it up. So when these one-time monies go away, it doesn't mean we're gonna increase the budget. We can't do that, because it would exceed the law.
But here's my issue with the whole Medicaid reimbursement component, right? So I understand that the timing of the revenue is, at the end of the year, so that's why they roll it forward and they use it for one-time expenses. But in reality, the Medicaid reimbursement is for, significant high-cost special needs kids, and we are funding 100% of that. So those revenue dollars really should be offsetting some of those expenditures in the budget, not just rolling it forward and doing special projects.
Sam, we
Not
have
all
this
Medicaid is for the high-cost special need, though.
It's for
It's
other
any
things.
Medicaid reimbursable expense. So it's not
But
necessarily
shouldn't
a
it, but,
high-cost.
but it's derived from
Yeah,
something,
it should
right?
be-
So it should be
it's-
directly
it's
offsetting.
a revenue source.
Yes.
So the law provides that Medicaid reimbursements do go back to the school district, and I'm fine with that. I don't have an issue with that. They have a number of they have maintenance requirements, the square footage of all their infrastructure, they have to pay $3 per square foot every year. There are things that they just can't absorb in their budgets. Those are the things that should be utilized for that. And I think, I just think that it's run amok over the last couple of years, and I'm not trying to blame anybody in particular, but the town can't support that based on the way educational funding is created by law. It's unsustainable.
So, I am just as concerned about the lack of information we're getting. We do have a deadline, though, that we need to put this budget, and like I said, 30 days. Chris, this one that you gave us was pulling 1.5 out?
1.5 of the general fund.
All right, Chris and I sat down the other day, and he showed me, we took $1 million out last year out of the general fund. When we punched that into the budget, you'd be very surprised. Giving the school 4% would have brought us up to like a 6% increase in taxes. With the 1 million, we couldn't give them any more than like 1%.
No.
And even then, it was close. So we talked with the treasurer, and we looked at, the general fund right now has 2.9 million in it that we can use, that's non-restricted. So we
And that
put-
number's 2.9, correct? Not 14.8 like
No, yeah,
members of
no.
the school committee had
That's,
intimated?
that's,
Okay.
that's above the 3% required.
That's above the 3, that is what we could use.
Available to still comply with the charter.
Right. So Chris and I, we were fooling around and we put 1.5 in here. And that's what you see in front of you. I don't like to increase taxes above 3%, especially with what's going on right now. I don't have the confidence to tell the taxpayers, your rate's gonna go up to 4%, and I'm confident that this money is gonna be spent the right way, or that we really need this money. Our budget has gone up, and this is like the very first time that we've had a substantial increase. But that's because our firemen, our police are not making what they should be at this point. And we are losing them, we're losing firemen by the week, 2 or 3 by the week. And at some point, we're not gonna be able to run a fire department. So we are in negotiations. We spoke to the council about what we should be paying these men. We spent 6 hours the other day with the unions. And we'll be honest, we are offering substantial increases, but we need to, because it's becoming a safety issue right now. So that's why our budget has gone up. So this is what you see. If we gave them 4%, even taking the 1.5 out, we'd be over the 4% cap. I don't like taking 1.5 out. I've been on the town council for 12 years, and we've been trying to build that account up. most towns have an 8% that they leave in there for emergencies, even 10.
Actually, it's 10 now.
10 now. We have 3. And like Chris once told me, that would probably pay our bills for 6 weeks.
No, so, about 3.
About 3 weeks now. And so I don't like taking 1.5, and I certainly don't like taking that out if I'm not confident I'm doing right for the taxpayers taking that out. And that's my dilemma right now. We can take it out or we cannot. Like I said, this is a preliminary budget. School still has till Monday to give us more information. But I would like to kind of settle what we're gonna do now. Does anyone have any suggestions?
Just want to make sure I'm accurate. So going from right to left, if we,
What page are we
I'm
on?
sorry, I'm on this sheet that Chris
All right.
put together.
Yes.
If I am using only what the preliminary, I'll call it budget, from the budget committee, that's $1 increase, correct?
Right.
So going right to left, it's 273,000, and that would be at 1%, 546 at 2%, 820 at 3%, and just under $1,000,001 at 4%, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And the bottom numbers of what it would do to the tax.
Right, so the tax rate going right to left, the assumed tax rate, because you always have to finalize it.
So the key numbers are really line 5, which is the tax levy, which is comprised of real and tangible property.
Yep,
That's the amount that needs to be raised by taxation.
right.
Then you divide that by the line 6, which is your valuation of your town. You don't use the last 3 zeros. That's how we get, if you do that calculation, that's how you get to the 1497, which is the current year tax.
Correct.
What I did is the number below that is really, if you apply the current valuation, instead of the 2.7 billion, you use the 3.8 billion, the tax rate would have been $10.77, basically. So that's
Right.
the number just below 14.
Oh, I got it.
97.
Okay,
And that's how you compare what the rate would be going across the board.
okay.
All right.
So at the low end, it's a 0.17% increase, and at the highest end, it's a 0.45% increase.
Correct.
Not percent.
Yeah, you're right, I'm sorry.
So-
1.65% increase at the highest, 4.27% increase. I
So-
was reading that wrong.
For clarification purposes, so if we're looking at, say, schools at $1, that 0.1779, that would be a 17.79 mill rate?
18 cents.
Under the current, if you use the current dollars, correct?
And that would be the budget divided by the 2.8 billion roughly versus the 3.8?
You're talking the current year.
I'm talking, so the column all the way at the right, underneath 1094, there's a 0.1779.
Right.
What is that?
That's the difference between,
That's what I was getting at, yeah.
the current rate.
That's the difference between the current rate.
I believe it is.
This is,
Well, no,
so it's compared
no.
to this. It's compared to the 10.76, right?
Yeah.
On the, under the FY
Oh, so
'24?
it'd be the increase of that.
Yes.
Oh, so this is 17 cents and 79 fractional
Right,
pennies?
right,
Okay.
right.
And you're comparing apples to apples.
I see, all right. So this is, all this is really whatever, it's 10.76, or it's, the current rate at 10.94 subtracting out 10.76680124.
So,
I think at this point, maybe we can have public comment. and-
yeah, I mean,
and
I
go
have a
from there.
suggestion, but I think, yeah.
You want to do that just to hear what?
Yeah.
Mike,
All
your
right.
water bottle matches your shirt.
Oh, it does.
I planned that.
All right. So Jordan, would
I'll
you
remain
like,
if you have any more questions.
Jordan or Corey?
Yeah, you,
Yeah, come on up, Brendan. It's Saturday, I realize there's a lot
Because
of
you're going golfing,
things
because if
going
that's
on.
the case.
always got kids pulling.
Yeah.
Taxi cab driver.
wife's working, I gotta pick up my daughter at dance. Give her
Brandon,
food so she can go to more dance this afternoon.
Exciting.
Brandon, I just need you to say your
Yes,
full
Brendan
name and your
Andrade,
address.
111 Ash Ave. All right, I have a longer than 3-minute speech, but because of my time limit, I am going to try to
Well,
significantly.
I'll give you 5.
We want to
I
hear
don't
whatever you have to
five.
say.
I gotta go. Personally, I don't have 5. I wish I did. I've been here since 9:15, but, all right. So, it's a little premature, as you guys all said. There's 30 days to go, but you do need a preliminary budget, and I think we're way behind the 8 ball here. I wish we started much sooner, but again, there's a lot of moving pieces throughout the town. So, during your recent joint session last time with Ride in attendance, the town council stressed the importance of unwinding one-time funds, as we did today. A viewpoint I wholeheartedly share. Can the school do more? Absolutely. Do they spend more than money given? Yes. Have they done enough? They're making progress. Do they need to find a couple more $100,000 outside of non-personnel? Yes. Is it a challenging task? Certainly. But we should all be in this together, facing the same challenges and striving for the same goal. With that same challenge and goal, Denise kind of said it today, again, summarizing my points. The fire department's lacking, we need the firemen, but at the same time, we need the teachers to teach the kids. So that's what I'm trying to say with the same challenge, same goal type deal. So skipping down, you guys spoke a lot about unwinding different things, Mr. Burke, Mr. Edwards, about ESSER funds, Mr. Carter. We also got to keep in mind, I have audit and accounting experience. I've gone through, as you can tell by my folder, this is all the school. I apologize, you guys haven't got information, but I got quite a bit. I've also met with Amy and Peter in person quite a few times. Never mind, we probably have about a 40 email chain going on here since March or February. But, just to give you guys a little background, again, I'm going to summarize a little bit. So a couple things, Mike spoke about this as well. The couple challenges, even if you guys receive the information you're requesting, and to Mr. Burks, this is from your last meeting, is you got to be cautious. The ESSER funds are there, 1, 2, and 3. The problem is positions came out, then they went back in. So even if they give you the information, it's still going to be a little tough to unwind that. But I agree, they need to unwind. So with that, you got to get a reconciliation or roll forward, and I did that. Part of my rollover, year over year, as Denise said, is without the reconciliation and roll forward, there's some things that don't stick out or you're not going to get answers to. And one of those things was the Newport County regional commitment. I found personnel, as I said in an open meeting in the school committee, personnel went from, I think it went 10%, and we're only contractually obligated to give 2.5. So why? It was about 14 positions that had to come in town because of the Newport County. Again, it's a business decision. Was it good for Tiverton? Maybe. Does it come at a cost? Yes. So those are the things that, I'm trying to highlight that we also got to consider from a business perspective, regardless of if it was a bad idea or not a good business decision. We have those 14 positions under our umbrella, comes at a high cost. That's probably about 1.4 million, So based on that, I'm going to skip a little bit. The school's 10-year history suggests FY25 budget should be about 37 million using a 2.5 average annual rate, which is pretty reasonable given the school makes up, 67% of the town budget. But without getting technical, can the town support a small portion? Most definitely. Will this take away from the soon-to-be earmarked expenditures of the general fund? Yes, which you guys got to a little bit today. So as of today, without giving or taking credit, since the school committee and school department and committee might have been capable of doing this on their own, the school has done almost everything I've suggested to get much closer to their goal of 34 million if the town honors 4% contribution, which I think it would be cold-hearted not to do. The school FY25 proposal started at 39 million using round figures, but hasn't decreased its non-personal operating budget by almost 900,000, which was declared last meeting. An additional 1.1 million in personnel cuts and a potential second round of 1.6 million. All of these items were suggested to unwind federal assistance and have future financial stability. So I wholeheartedly agree that the town needs to cut about 1.1 million in non-personnel cuts, so they got some room to their, excuse me, not the town, the schools. And they do have to cut some staff. It's the unfortunate thing, but I agree it has to be done. However, we still have a deficit after that. So if you do the math, 1.1, and I would suggest another 2.3 in personnel, we still got a little over $1 million of a deficit. You know, the town did a great job, again, sorry, skipping. The town did a great job being extremely frugal. We all want and deserve manageable police and fire departments. The fire department's struggling, as I mentioned. Still, I know the town council and Chris are actively working on this, which was said this morning. However, if the school department were to close Fort Barton, the buck would be passed to the town at approximately $1 million in annual operating expenses, HVAC, custodian, supplies, et cetera, et cetera. Never mind the state aid or possible takeover. Therefore, as we all know, the closure does not benefit the town budget. It benefits one part of the business. And again, my speech is on the town, the whole town. To put it lightly, the school needs approximately $1 million contribution for the town above the 4%, and not just from the general fund. I'll get to that in a second. Why is this $1 million contribution critical? Some can argue various reasons why and why not, but before you shrug me off, let me try to be creative with some options that result in an end goal for the betterment of Tiverton. With this contribution over 4%, I won't give a number because I think it can be a little less than $1 million, but with this contribution over 4%, I can almost guarantee the school committee would agree the incremental overage would eliminate the discussion of closing Fort Barton. I looked at a 3-year school budget forecast with rolling items and a 2% annual appropriation by the town. And this incremental effort being discussed today would lead to minimum worries and remaining level funding, and most importantly, a content staff for our students. Further, again, this I got kind of bulleted here, but this gives the school committee an extra year to understand and finalize utilization studies that the school department should complete. The priority being the mental health and safety of the potential students being shifted, as Ms. Black spoke about this morning. As a school building committee member with Deb and Mike and others, we know the schools must continue to roll with the 5-year ride stage commitment process for 35 to 45% reimbursement on those projects. I will comment, the committee started at 18 million, this is the building committee, not the general fund, similar numbers. And we took it down to 11 million after the reimbursement, and netted about 6 million being spent by the town, about 1.2 a year. Pretty good investment with casino money. Why is this important? This gives the school time to retrofit Ranger, perhaps. As we know, the blueprint is there, the architect's there, the money is there. Again, this is the 5-year commitment the town had to enter into it ride, but it should be noted to the public, as the order did, that the casino revenue general fund balance as of June 30th, 2023 was a little over 5 million unmarked and 6.7 million in capital funds. Again, some of that could have been spent by now, but yep. If the town did not complete this commitment, it would lose significant reimbursement. Further, this reduces the Fort Barton bond by another 12 months. If Fort Barton were to close at the expense of retrofitting Ranger, the town may consider using Fort Barton as a future town hall, police station, etc. All these are, again, all these buildings are in dire need of repair. Schools, towns, everything. Despite that creative thinking, let's all remember the mental well-being of our students at risk. I am pro leaving the 4th graders out of the middle school. Research from Portsmouth and other surrounding areas in New England stated not only did the curriculum fail with 3rd and 4th graders not being in the same building, but they also had major mental and physical issues. I think we can all realize the mental issues, but the physical, believe it or not, was the ability for the 4th grader to act independently. Bullying, obesity, walking home by themselves. I actually had a parent reach out to me, and her 4th grade student in Portsmouth was able to buy whatever they wanted in the cafeteria. So that's where the obesity comes from. Again, all major issues in the United States, regardless, Please consider utilizing the general fund a little more, which probably, again, you probably have about, Denise, you said the number, about over 2 million unearmarked at this time. The total was, again, 18, but unearmarked was 5 down to 2 per the order report. I realize you plan to reduce the tax rate. Again, I'm jumping the gun here. I already know what you guys are going to do. I realize you plan to reduce the tax rate with a revaluation, but we need more financial stability. And there is only one way to do that. Let's stop being the laughingstock of Rhode Island. Not for nothing. I have rental property in Fall River, and my taxes in Fall River increased significantly in the last 5 years. In Tiverton, my taxes went up barely 2%. In Fall River, they've gone up 11%. So, based on some calculations I did this morning, you know, my home is above the median of Tiverton, and my taxes would go up maybe $300 a year with giving the schools their 4% based on the file we have here in front of us. So, in closing, the school needs a bailout. Most can say it's not a bailout. It's because of past appropriations of being under or misuse of funds. However, we all need to start acting like adults, stop the scare tactics on both sides. It's election year, it's a problem, it's a deficit. Let's work together, let's help the town in the whole, and especially all our students and our teachers. Thank you.
Brendan, I do want to say something.
Yep.
We're not giving anyone scare tactics. And we have spent 4 weekends going through our budget to try to find all the money we can save. We are not causing this rift. We are not, and I don't care what people think.
Yeah.
We are not. We've been cooperative, we've been asking for information and not receiving it. And how can we possibly make a responsible decision for these taxpayers when we don't have the information?
No, I agree, and that's my earlier comment of starting this much sooner. And again,
You can't,
I can't speak to that, but yes, I'm used to starting budgets in August and being done in February, so.
Madam
yeah.
President, if I may, I just want to make sure I have some numbers you threw out clear. You're suggesting that we provide the 4% increase of 1,093.
Yep.
Plus another $1 million on top of that.
Not exactly $1 million, but I think the schools need $1 million on top. Some of that could come from their Medicaid fund.
Okay, but
of doing.
Just use
Yeah.
round numbers.
Correct.
So $2 million increase. So at a $1 million increase, with taking 1.5 out of general fund, that puts us over the state cap of 4.24%
Well,
already. So what you're suggesting is probably bringing us up to at least half percentage point above the state cap, where we have to go to the state to
Well,
get approval.
take
We
that
have to
back.
justify that approval.
Yeah, so you could use the casino fund and not.
No, we
go-
can't.
Nope.
Casino's not used for operation.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's an ordinance.
Well, you can't use it for personnel, you can use it for.
We cannot use it for
PPE.
operations. It is set aside for capital. And in fact, we also set aside a separate account for the schools when they get reimbursed from the state or other sources, so that that money continues to flow back into the schools.
Yes,
So it cannot be used for any operational expenses.
Correct.
It can only be used for capital.
correct, which is PP&E.
PP&E?
Property, plant, equipment, which is capital funding, and that
Yeah.
goes to the fixed asset.
Right.
They're asking for $500,000 in their budget for PP&E, which.
And
could
they can come and ask for casino money for that.
And totally
And if we
agree.
give it to them, we already have given them a lot of money in casino based on that plan that you
Yeah, and
described.
again, I'm not.
So
you
they
know,
have to prioritize what it is they want, because there are other needs in town
Yeah.
that have to come out of that fund
And
too.
as I said, I agree with that, and I'm not, trying to take it away. I'm just here today because from a mental health perspective, as I said, I can't reach that more. And again, we need the fire department, that's safety issues, I agree. It's like priority 1A, B, C, you know what I mean? But again, I just strong cost being a
But
parent.
you clearly understand the constraints that the town has been. as
Oh,
far as
absolutely,
trying
I said, we're
to Stay within
running,
the confines of
we're
the
running
law.
a frugal,
and
a frugal town. I've been here all my life, it's been like that for many, many years, as you know.
I would love to be able to find a resolution to this, even if the council was willing to put in 2% at this point. Is there a way to even restrict it somehow until RIDE goes through and does its determination? Is there really some sort of deficit? That's the problem, none of us know. Even you've gone through the documents, you really.
It's tough, there's a lot of
It's working in a
allocations.
vacuum, it's hard, and believe me, I'm not anti-education at all. I think-
No, and-
I think all of us have the same
And again,
feelings
like
that you do about,
Yeah,
how-
like I said, a little premature speaking this morning because you have a lot to do, I agree. It's just, I'm trying to, as a parent myself, I'm just trying to get this thing moving. it's gone on too long. There's a lot of parents at risk because 30 days from now, it might be too late to get into a certain school, if they want to go private.
My phone's been ringing off the hook, believe it or not, parents calling
Yeah.
about Fort Barton, whether or not it's gonna be open.
Yeah.
It's not our
I
decision.
know, I had a conversation with Little Compton administration, I know their phones, so.
They're probably
same
swamped right
idea.
now.
Yep, same idea.
Which is gonna be even more detrimental to
Yeah,
the schools
yeah.
as we move forward.
Did she have to leave?
Can
Part
I-
of her, we've been discussing, but I didn't say my whole speech, but.
Go ahead.
Madam President?
Yeah.
So just one point that I think needs to be out in the public. So talking about the bond, and I know Member Dakotas has floated this about we'll retrofit Ranger and then maybe we'll close Fort Barton. The whole premise of that bond, those bond dollars, and it's my understanding that if at any point 30 years after we pay off the bond, we close the school, RIDE is coming back and looking for all of their money. So Fort Barton has to remain open because we can't go and all of a sudden cut a check back to RIDE for their portion of the housing aid that they paid over the life of that bond.
And it has to be open as an education.
As an education facility, so
If you
we
don't
can't
mind,
move our offices down there.
I don't want it closing because we.
And as
look
far
at these
as-
developments.
None of us do. All
As,
of us want it open.
as far as I'm concerned, if we give them 2% and they close Fort Barton, then
We're in a
I'm,
major deficit.
I'm not going to be happy about it, first of all.
I agree.
Because I don't think there's a reason to close Fort Barton. I really, really don't.
Not
And
with
you're
the
talking about scare tactics? Well, that was one.
And this has been tried
and-
over the years too, that this has been floated.
Also, to retrofit any of these schools is going to cost money, and I'm not sure where they think they're getting it from. Because if we're going to lose $1 million over there,
Well,
I'm not willing.
Yeah, so part of that, just to touch base, maybe it's a bad idea again, but, it's a creative idea, right? Thinking outside the box. But-
Well, it's a costly idea
so
when
what
we
I was
have
saying
a
is
school
part of the
there.
capital 5-year plan, there is money in there they can move around. Personally, I think there's money in there they can move around that's earmarked for a different.
But where are
project.
they going to get the money from?
Well, the town had to enter into the 5-year RIDE program. So that's why, it's already part of that 5-year capital RIDE.
Right, but
savings.
that was for other things, not to retrograde
Well,
other
it's for other
schools.
things, but we can.
And quite frankly,
So
with-
right now, what I'm trying to say is, just to give you an example, there's 500,000 right now in that 5-year program that would, again, it's not voted by the school committee, it's just a recommendation, that would fix up the back of Ranger for the buses because of asphalt, parking, all that stuff. To me, I would rather retrofit a building to keep the 4th graders out of the middle school, just for example, high level, but,
But
you know.
despite what was said at the school committee, we have a lot of developments coming up.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of kids that are going to join us. And to close that school right now is ridiculous because I know they said there's no building permits. Well, I don't know where they got that information
Yeah,
from.
I
All right,
don't know
and I don't know if they're
either.
watching the
Drive around
planning.
town. Thorn Mills is almost done, but.
Right,
yeah.
and Bourne Mills, I just found out, is going to have 50, and they're predicting more kids over there.
They've got signs out now
Also,
looking for
Right.
people.
also, their numbers on what's coming out of Sandy Woods and Bourne Mills right now is wrong. There's more students coming out of there.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't make sense to close the school and 2 years from now, we'd say, oh, we have to build another one because we can't retrograde these buildings enough to fit what we've got coming in.
Yeah, and again, I totally agree, and more so, again, to what I was saying is personnel definitely needs to be cut by $2 million, which is significant. At this point in time, doesn't matter if I'm an accountant or not, or you need to be an educator to realize how many we need for core staffing. I don't wanna see, again, bridge can probably go away, but I don't wanna see a math specialist go away and us,
But that would
better
be-
schools, better home values, you know what I mean?
But
So-
that would be up to the school committee
Correct.
to make some tough changes, and changes that wouldn't affect the education as much as other things that they could take
Yeah, and I've
away.
made that known because the positions that the school committee, school committee department will say that presented at the last meeting, there's many core staff. In option 1 or 2, there's many outside core staff that can be eliminated, and again, such as a bookkeeper. I would rather have a math specialist than a bookkeeper. I apologize to that person, but again, I'm going what was presented.
I just feel there's a way that they can save money, and I think that closing Fort Barton is going to cost us in the long run a lot of money.
Exactly what I was saying.
And I have to tell you right now, if that does happen, I've worked for bonds. I was there on the school committee to get those bonds. They're not going to get another bond from this town if they do something that irresponsible. And that's my opinion. And it's not just my opinion. I'm being stopped at every supermarket I walk into. And not just by parents, by other parts of this community saying, what are they doing? Like, this doesn't make
And I've
sense.
had that, one-on-one conversation with almost every school committee member as well, because
It doesn't make sense, and I don't think that they can close Fort Barton. But I have to tell you, if I agree to give them, say, 2%, I will put a caveat on it. Like, you can't close Fort Barton. You've got to make this work.
I agree. I agree with that. That was my other recommendation. I might have skipped, but I agree.
So I am not an accountant, you are. But I am responsible for budgets in my job, have been for the past 30 years. And the numbers don't make sense to me. You finish a year, you have a budget, you have an actual, that number should carry to your next, where you predict where you'll be. The numbers don't line up. Looking at, and I don't know if you looked at this, Brandon, but looking at the staffing, we had an issue some years back where we had teachers who had to work 5 years more or so longer because the state changed the retirement package. We had a lot of teachers, the higher percentage of our teachers were in that high step. They've retired. We should be getting people in the lower steps. The salary should not continue to escalate exponentially. I question the salaries. Are we bringing in people, are we bringing in teachers at the appropriate steps? I would imagine the union, my staff are all union, if they come in with 2 years' experience, they go on that appropriate step. Are we doing that? Are we bringing them in appropriately? And I don't know if you can answer this, if you even looked at that.
I have. I would, not so much from NEA teachers, but definitely from the administration side. If you, if you just look at I don't know the HR terminology, but if you look at we'll say Boston, Providence area of a certain position, it's definitely a little higher than normal, and I've made that known.
So if you are budgeted a certain dollar amount and you budget, say, $80,000 for a set position, and you bring that person in at $120,000, to stay budget neutral, you need to cut someplace else. You can't then have that person at that step and then add your 2%, your 3%, your liens, and all of those, and ending up at like 17%. And the numbers don't travel year to year from the information we have. So I don't know if that was part of your...
Yeah, so I looked into the full GL detail, which is literally every single line. And to Chris's point, I didn't see anything that didn't match to UCOLA, but there could be, you know what I mean? But that doesn't mean it was correct or incorrect, you know what I mean? Because even though I'm an accountant, I'm not a government accountant, you know what I mean? I'm a corporate accountant, but... and that goes back to the earlier point of, not only is that personnel, I think the number should be a little over 2 million in cuts, and it's not only because of unwinding ESSER or other federal reimbursements, it's also because of the staffing levels with the, again, I could be a little off on these numbers, but say the head count of cuts was 30 personnel members going back to, ESSER funds in 2020, 2021. The staffing was still at, say, 190 in 2018-19, and our enrollment has gone down drastically.
I don't get that.
Again,
Enrollment's going down, but our employees
again,
go up.
and that's why I want to make this point, is I've looked at this thing very heavily, and, I applaud you guys for looking at it from a taxpayer's perspective, and this is why I'm saying, unfortunately, I still think we need to do something before we, again, I hope for bonds off the table, but at this point, you would start cutting core staffing, and that's, a little bit of an issue from a...
So we're looking at percentages, but we still don't know what that percentage relates to. Like, what exactly are we paying for? And I think to Councilman Edwards' suggestion, we need to almost start at zero and build the budget. Like, what are we paying our teachers? What are we doing, salary, non-salary? So that we know how much it actually costs.
Yeah.
Because right now, we're saying what our cost per pupil is, but are these really numbers that we can trust?
Well,
You know,
and Deb, I'm sorry,
Yep,
just to add on to that, the other part of what Counselor Edwards said is making sure that that cost that you just described backs out things that should have been backed out previously.
right. So,
All right, I'm
I
gonna
think, and just one thing, because I was at the Budget Committee Thursday, and one of the caveats, because they had heavy heart, they feel the teachers are doing their job, everyone's doing a great job. They didn't have the information, so they could not make a fair judgment. But with the caveat that there be more oversight to the finances, so that it is black and white and it's transparent. Our responsibility as a council is to make sure it's fair, and we want good schools.
Yeah.
Most of us attended these schools, our
Yeah.
children attended these schools. We want good schools. We believe that the teachers are doing a great job, the kids are coming out with a great education, but we're also responsible to the taxpayer, and we need them to get what they're paying for.
Yeah, and I'll agree. It's tough on the school side to be black and white because it is different accounting. So the school is on accrual-based accounting, town's on cash-based. So it's a little different because schools need to go through GAAP accounting, which is accrual-based accounting. GAAP is not cash. Amy did say in another meeting to John that there's certain things that do cash-based, but most of their items are accrual, so it's kind of tough from that end. And then when you have allocations into the mix, it's really tough because what they're doing is they might hire, again, this is an example, they might hire a teacher at $50,000 and then their HVAC repair is under. They haven't spent anything on HVAC repair. You know what I mean? Again, they can't really do that, but in the school level, they can't do that, but I'm just trying to use a high-level example.
All right, I've given you 20 minutes, you know?
I'm very late.
And you have to go to dance, okay?
Thank you,
Don't forget to
Brandon.
get the food.
Just to clarify though, the primary difference between accrual and cash is accrual is you get a bill, you recognize the expense. Cash is you don't recognize the expense until you write the check and send it out the door. So that's for anybody who's watching that didn't understand what the accountant just said.
Hi, Jordan.
Hi. So I just want to.
You have to say your name and address.
Yeah, Jordan Riley, 13 Fieldstone Lane.
Thank you.
So I think the overall consensus here, and growing consensus among parents and residents, is unfortunately we don't have faith in our school administration anymore. Sadly, I think at one point we did, and it just continues to fade. We're kind of in the worst position right now for our children because we're stuck trying to make decisions about next school year, and where we still have this looming threat with none of the information that you still don't have the information that you've asked for. So unfortunately, I think what it comes down to at this point, and I'm going to mimic what John mentioned, is in order for us to regain the faith that we should have in our school committee and administration, we almost have to work backwards and start from square one. I mean, I speak for myself, and I speak for so many parents when I say we want the schools to be funded. We want the world for our kids, but we have to have faith in these numbers. And time again, we've had, coming from multiple sources, we've had people telling us things don't match. I've said it multiple times. How many more times can we shoot off flares and wave red flags and scream from the mountaintops? We're not happy. The parents aren't happy with how our money is being spent on our children. what's it gonna take at this point? I mean, what can we do? We're losing faith by the dozens. I mean, every parent I talk to, I mean, I coach soccer, I'm involved in lots of different aspects for the community, just volunteer-wise. And I've had multiple parents come up to me who were silent in the past and said, I feel like pulling my kid from the district. So something has to be done, but we have to start from square one and work backwards almost at this point, like John had mentioned. I think, I don't know how to regain this trust, but we've lost faith. And we've also proven, I still have parents asking, oh, well, you know, if I feel like I can't vote in favor of keeping Fort Barton open because we'll lose all of the specialists. But that's not the case. We've already proven time and time again that cutting some of these specialists in option one would put us out of compliance, let alone the fact that I had a bridge educator come up to me at a meeting and say, that's me right there, and that's not my pay. It's not accurate. Nothing that we've seen is accurate at this point. And we have to stop accepting things at face value. I'm guilty of it. In the past, I just trusted that things were operating correctly. And now I think it's clear that things need to change. I don't know. I'm not sure what it's going to take. I don't have the answers. But something has to give here. And yes, I'm in favor of doing as much as we possibly can for the schools, but it has to come with a caveat to regain the trust and the faith of parents and even our children who are now affected by this. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sally, you're back.
I'm just back for a minute because I had asked the town hall for some information, and guess what? Here it is. You asked for something, and you get
I'll
it.
get to you the other piece about the developments.
You know, what?
I know, I didn't give you the development piece.
Oh, that's okay, I can get that.
But I'll get to that.
So I used to go to the planning board, and when developments were coming, and I would ask them in public, how many children do you think this will bring? So they would go on the record, and it would be in the files. And I asked for Sandy Woods, and I asked for Bourne Mill at the time, and they might have said 12. We all know that wasn't true, but that, you know, that's what they said. They have the numbers for what it is. We want the kids to come, believe me. And if we lose the trust and the faith that I'm hearing, we're going to lose students and families. In the last census that Rhode Island did, Tiverton was one of the only towns that grew. And we all know why, because it's an amazing town, and we have amazing schools. So let's hold on to what we've got while we're trying to fix this problem. So here we go with the building permits. I sat at the school committee meeting the other night, and the data manager said that we had no new building permits, which leads people to think and say to me, well, Sally, if we don't have any building permits, then we don't need to keep all these schools open, right? Okay, so here we go. 2019, new thing. Oh, first of all, there's a moratorium on over 4, right? If there's over 4, you can't do it, so that's all stopped. That's what's coming on over there.
Coming to an end soon, though.
Right, okay, so this is a new 2019, new single families 34, 2020 31, 2021 30, 2022 18, 2023 28. All you have to do is take a ride around the town. Go out of the town, the high school, and take a right instead of a left. And you'll see buildings where I thought it was a ranger schoolyard. And these are single-family homes with bedrooms with children, which is very exciting. All these new developments. When you go door to door and ask for money to get things, you'll find out you're not done yet, Sally, because there's a whole new development down the street. So anyway, we need the facts. We need facts like this to make decisions with. And I know that's what you're all looking for. So don't stand there and say there's no building permits and make people think we don't need these schools. Because I am an educator, and I know one of the main factors is student-to-teacher ratio up to the 4th grade. We have to get that reading at 4th grade. Go ahead and put all those kids, shove them all in this room, in that room, in the other room, and put that ratio up and see what happens. There's so much more. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mike.
a couple of things, and I appreciate the input from the parents and others. Thank you. One of the things I have, in my day job, I have the opportunity to interact with a lot of school personnel from across the state. And so I have asked some folks I know for some input. And one of the consistent, just as an example, one of the consistent pieces of feedback I've gotten, and I think we've recognized this, as one simple example. We went, for the life of this school district, with an athletic director who was stipended in addition to his job. We now have an athletic director, and I don't have the number, I want to say it's around $100,000. 113. Sorry, I was wading through the paper trying to find it.
We know that number.
Being paid $114,000 and not having, to my understanding, any class work.
Nope.
Makes more than me.
So that's just one example of how decisions have been made, and I'm going to put this on the superintendent, that the superintendent has, I don't believe still that he recognizes the difference between operating a school system in Massachusetts and operating a school system in Rhode Island. The funding streams are very different. The funding support from the state is very different. And you have to be able to accommodate for that as a superintendent. You also have to be able to know your town and know what your town can afford. We all would like, I'll say a Tesla now because the Cadillac doesn't make it anymore. We all would like that Tesla, perhaps. But our town can't afford having those Teslas because we have other needs. We are bleeding, and I use that analogy intentionally, firefighters. We can't afford to keep bleeding firefighters.
Nope.
So, there are other components in here, whether or not we need certain specialists at higher grade levels. Is that really something that is going to help change their students' trajectory? Software costs, technical costs have skyrocketed. Why? Again, maybe it would be great to have these things, but can we afford to have those? So I think that's the kind of nickel and diming that needs to be done. And at this point, I know we're not quite there yet, but I suggest we start on a preliminary budget at the 2% to the schools, which is $550,000, just under $550,000. So this column, third column from the right that Chris has shown us, which would give the schools a total appropriation of $33,587,602, and then all the municipal side, and at the end of the day, the tax levy appropriation would be $43,012,387 with an estimated tax rate of $11.09. That's where I suggest we start as our preliminary budget. We still have the opportunity to adjust that, and certainly it gives, and I know there are most of the school committee members really want to come back to us with reasonable numbers and understandable numbers, so I think it gives them that opportunity to do that. At the end of the day, I don't see us going above 3% to the schools myself. And certainly, I appreciate Mr. Andrade's comments, but there is I doubt very much that we would get the state to agree for us to give a half a percentage point or more above the cap if we even desire to do that. And I have no desire to approach the state to go above the 4% cap.
This is a preliminary. We can go up or down.
Correct.
2% would be my limit right now. I don't have faith in it. And I don't want to tell taxpayers, yes, I think they deserve 2%. They may, but I don't know. I don't know. And I've been doing this for 12 years on this and 8 years on the school committee, and I've never seen anything like this where the numbers are just so out of whack. And I usually can make a decision. I am just at loss right now on what the right decision is. But this is a preliminary, and we can do the 2%, which would increase the taxes to 2.96% right now with the numbers we have in front of us. And like I said, if I needed to increase the taxes by 4% and I thought it was justified, I do it. I do it, but I will never do it if I don't have faith I'm doing right for the taxpayers. Yes.
All right, so I have some problems with this budget and previous budgets, and I have for a long time. When the school department makes their cuts, they always seem to do it among teachers and specialists. I don't see the top people being cut at all.
Given raises.
I wonder, why do we need what amounts to 2 superintendents? Why do we need 2 principals in schools? We have a lot of assistants. I think we're very top-heavy. They get paid a lot. Actually, they get paid more than any member of town government. The other problem we're going to have, if you look at this document, you will notice that the town evaluation has gone up about 40% in 1 year. Now, when RIDE looks at this stuff, they're always about 2 years behind. This is a huge portion of the formula that they use to reimburse the towns for educational expenses. It's massive. This isn't going to be affecting us until another year or 2. The town valuation is not going to go down, it's going to keep going up. Granted, we could give them another $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, but it's going to happen again and again and again until the school department gets their act together and realizes we have a budget, we have to live within that budget just like we all do, and we can't overspend. And if we really, really, really need to, then we need to come forward about that and say, you know, we've got a real problem. Part of what's driving this today is that the state has no maintenance of effort. They can give us whatever they choose. We have maintenance of effort. We're the ones that are under the gun for this stuff. And that's another thing that needs to get fixed. That's one of the big differences between us and Massachusetts. And as Denise said, or Mike said, I am not entirely sure that our superintendent has a clue about the differences in funding between these 2 states, the one he came from and the one he is now in. He has to live with our rules, not with the rules that he learned under, if you will.
All right, so at this point,
We
oh.
gonna go on the line, do you have anything?
Do you have any, if I go line again?
No, I agree with what you said, Denise. You know, we can say 2%, 3%, whatever, but what is it? Like, what are we paying for? I mean, we don't know. We don't know.
So, as I said at the onset, I don't actually know what it costs to truly run the core services for the school. I don't think we've been given any inclination as to what that is. You know, I've looked through, these sheets are just highlighted with, you know, line items that I have serious questions on. You know, one of the questions that I have, I don't know if you know this answer, Ms. Pavo, but where does our enrollment sit today? Because every time I flip on a school committee meeting, it seems like yet another 2 or 3 families are leaving the district.
A little 17 plus maybe.
Okay.
Around to 18.
Because I thought we were down at like 16, just under 1,600.
We were down to 15 and.
1599 or 1598.
Almost 15.
We've got
So
600 plus at the elementary schools. We have, I think it's a little under, right around 5 at the high school, and very close to that same number at the middle school.
Yeah.
Middle school, I think, is a little bit higher than the high school.
Which are gonna go to the high school now. You know what I mean? Like it all.
So eventually, well,
We lose some from eighth grade.
Yeah.
yeah, so, I mean, again, what I've seen, we don't know why the students are leaving. I've asked one of your counterparts, this, you know, we see these people departing, where are they going? And the response I get is, we don't know. So whether we're losing them to homeschool or to private school or other districts, whatever the case may be, the fact still remains that we have this downward trajectory on what our enrollment numbers are. At the same time, we've had a massive upward trajectory in what our costs are. And the school committee, we were doing the budget last year, the school committee sat in front of us and said, we're going to dissolve the regional special education authority, and we're going to take it in-house. We're going to save $100,000. And we all said, wow, this is 1562, it looks like is the number.
October enrollment.
1562.
October enrollment.
So, so for them to sit here,
Save us money.
it's ended up costing us, I think, what the number was, like close to $2 million more. And there's a lot of these line items in this budget that, again, they don't add up. Whether we're tuition payments to, you know, the regional collaborative, you know, versus, you know, taking those positions in-house. I mean, it sounds like from Mr. Andrade, I'll take his word at face value that we just added 14 more positions. Over the time that I've been on the town council and then on the budget committees, every single year it comes up and they say, well, we've already laid all these people off and we're gonna have to cut more people. I would love to know what the staffing was in, say, 2017 versus what the staffing is today. And I think that number is gonna be higher, you know, by more than 14 than what we had back then. And in the interim, supposedly, all these positions were cut and eliminated and so on and so forth. So, you know, I have a lot of questions still to be answered. We have the forensic audit going on. You know, I understand we have a timeline for us to put forward a preliminary budget and then ultimately to vote on a budget, but we also could take this thing into extra innings and ask the state for an extension so we can get the information. And, you know, from my perspective, you know, I'm good with what we have on the municipal side. I think we all understand it, it's transparent. But when it comes to the school allocation, I haven't the foggiest idea. And I think, personally, we should take this entire game into extra innings and ask the state for an extension on our budget so we can get real information and make an actual decision. Because we could sit here and look at this document and say, oh, we'll give them 2%, maybe they'll be happy with that. But again, back to what Ms. Riley said, I don't have faith, no offense, Ms. Pavo, in the school committee to do what's correct with the dollars that we give them. So where does that leave us? Without any information and without reliable information coming from the school department and me sitting here with zero faith in the school committee, I don't feel comfortable giving them dollars because I don't think they're going to allocate them appropriately. You know, and I'll go back to the rubbish services in the budget. How, if you have a contract to pick up garbage, do you not ever get that number correct? Ever. They're constantly under budgeting that number. That should be easy. How many times a week do they come and take the trash away? And what is, you know, the rate per ton? That's an easy one to figure out. And they still cannot get that number correct. Blows my mind.
David, anything?
I just gotta echo Councilman Edwards. Right now, I am stuck at $1 until we can see something for proof. 2017, 2018 educators versus today, who's been cut? I spoke to a Tiverton teacher who has left the district and said, can you name me one person that's actually been laid off when you guys were all laid off? About 20 minutes later, he called me back and he said, I spoke to 4 other people. I can't give you a single name.
All right, so, as far as the extension for the FTR, I mean, we can make that decision as we go along. Do you want to vote for a preliminary budget today? I mean, we have our numbers down. So do we want to put in a number for the schools and know that it's not probably going to be the right, it may stay that. I mean, I don't know.
I'll make a motion to get us forward, and we can decide how to go.
No, go ahead.
I move that we put forth a preliminary budget based on the backup material that has been provided us by the town administrator and the budget committee of an FY25 proposed budget of total of education appropriation of $33,587,602. Total,
Wait a minute, where?
so I'm looking at column,
Yeah, don't count state aid though, right?
Yeah, he's doing both.
Bottom
State
line.
aid and-
bottom
Just the
line.
bottom line.
Yeah,
Bottom
he's
line.
doing total education appropriation,
Yep.
Okay.
Of
because
which,
we do have to appropriate the state aid too.
yeah, of which 546,872 is the increase to the school budget, so the additional local contribution.
So you're looking at this.
I'm looking at the
2%.
third, yep,
2%,
the
yeah.
school at 2% column.
Okay.
And municipal budget of $24,647,827.
Can we just double check that, because I think it's off by a couple
Oh.
thousand.
So we've made some adjustments today.
Do you have the new
I
number?
Yeah,
would
but
say
we
that
can
number
change
plus
it in
the
the-
adjustments made today.
Plus the adjustments made in today's meeting, and a capital expense budget of $54,028 for a total expenditure proposal of $58,309,457, plus the additional adjustments made in today's meeting.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Any further discussion? Motion's been made in second. All those in favor?
Well, wait a minute, I do have, if we were to request an extension, like, what does that entail? Like,
We've done it before.
So, yeah, I have to go
You
to
did it
the
during
Department
We
of-
have to be careful with funding.
I have to go to the Department of Revenue and seek an extension, and give them a rationale as to why we can't complete this budget.
We did that during COVID.
We did, but it was technically approved
Because,
by them.
right.
Council's the only one that can do that.
So, I'm not disagreeing that, and I'm assuming we're in discussion point now, so, I don't know if an extension would be granted, because there are other processes available, to rectify the budget. So, and I think that they would probably dictate that, let the schools go through chapter 16-2-21.4, which is, if they don't get what they want, they appeal to the Director of State Department of Education. And it goes through a process to determine whether or not there is sufficient budgetary monies. I mean, that's the issue that we're hung up on. It's not, it's educational funding. That's the only issue that is being hung up right now. And you don't have the information to make a decision. The Budget Committee didn't have enough information to make a decision. Even if you put 2% in, which is, I agree, I'm not disagreeing with you. You're kind of like, I think you're trying to be fair, and you're trying to stay within the confines of what the taxpayers would be confronted with. But until somebody else makes the decision as to whether or not, even if we get all the information and you make a decision, doesn't mean that they're still not going to appeal it. Or that they're going to close the school, or they're going to do any of those
There
things.
still won't be deficit spending.
Right, but at least you've made a good faith effort to put something on the table. I don't think Department of Revenue is gonna let me, I'll ask, but I don't see how, they're gonna say, you have enough money, you've gotta, you can do it within the confines of the law, there's nothing holding you back, but, I don't know if they would give us the ability to extend it, because this could go on for months. We still haven't got the information we asked for under APRA yet.
All right, so I have a motion and a second.
I have one more piece of discussion. I'm going to drag this out. No, I'm kidding. No, I appreciate that input. Thank you. And I think that it's very, very disappointing that through this entire process, it seems like we are being intentionally shoved into an 11th hour decision here with no information upon which to make that decision. So, after we get through this piece, I would hope that the school committee would stay true to their words, not their tone and their actions, and actually working with the town council, because they say the right things at the meetings, but the way that they say them is never indicative of what they actually are saying. So, I would hope that immediately following this, we would get some open line of communication. We would be able to see what the heck they're spending their money on a regular basis, and they should be voluntarily bringing that to the forefront if they do want to have a true working partnership with us. Because the way that this whole budget process has gone is just mind-boggling to me. I mean, the 10% increase was known about in November. Apparently, the school committee was not made aware of it until everybody else in the community was. And there's supposedly a finance committee on the school committee that's supposed to be watching these things, and yet, here we are.
Representative Edwards, I do think.
Counselor.
Counselor, sorry. Maybe that's why I want to go to the next, but.
No aspirations, I'm here.
I apologize. We've, for the last 3 or 4 years, have had these very same discussions about the school budget. I'm running a deficit, and every year they wind up with a surplus. This is not a budgetary issue. This is a spending problem of spending monies that are no longer available, that the taxpayers are not required to subsidize. And I don't know what's expected of the town. They can't come up with that kind of money to fix what they've been spending that is no longer there. I'm sorry, I don't know what to do. We have conformed within the law.
You don't want to speak again, do you?
President,
Yeah, just,
the only thing I want to say about this is, I think we all know sitting at this table that doing a a $1 increase would be a ludicrous fool's errand. I can live with 2%, but I want to be damn sure that the school committee understands if we reach an agreement with them, they're not closing the school.
I agree.
That will be the key. And I don't care, and I don't think a gentleman's agreement's gonna do it. I think we need something from them in writing. Says, okay, we will not close another school.
We need like an MOU.
I don't care what it is. I don't know what the legal mechanism would be. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know if we can even do it, but I think we should try.
Is that something we can legally?
Well, I want to give my gut feeling is no, because Title 16 vests all power of the school funding to the school committee. I mean, you could have a gentleman's agreement, a good faith agreement, that would go a long way, but I don't think it's something you can mandate.
Johnston.
I think the town has lost faith in
Didn't Johnston have the school committee pass a resolution saying they were going to abide by what the decisions or what the recommendations were from an independent body and the council over there?
I think so.
I'm not aware of it, but the school committee is agreeing to do that by
Yeah.
themselves. They're just agreeing, right? It wasn't the town council the town council requested it.
It was politically
Right.
foisted upon them, yes,
Right.
but
That was, ultimately, the school committee made that decision that they were going to
We
abide by
can
the
do the
decision.
same and see if they agree with us. Mike?
just to note, I think, my understanding is the finance subcommittee of the school committee is relatively recent? Yeah,
No,
it's not.
no,
Sally was on.
We had that when I was there.
okay.
That's
But hasn't it been recently resurrected? No? Okay.
probably, maybe they hadn't met, but we
Okay.
had it when I was there. This is two people.
But they've always
We
been
didn't
there.
meet, now we meet again.
Okay, okay. I mean, I guess I have a little bit more faith than some in the members of the school committee being able to, the majority of the members of the school committee being able to take what we provide and decide how to best use it. Certainly, I think there may be some who consider closing a school, but I think also that there are calmer heads that recognize that doing it, even if that were a final decision at some point in time, that today is not that time to do it, and it would require some significant discussions among the community to decide if that even was a viable option. And I am not supporting that myself at this point. I think there is enough room in the budget that was provided to us, not the 4% number, but the budget that was provided to us, to reduce down to that 2% allocation without negatively affecting, with continuing to provide a quality education for our students.
Anyone else? I have a motion on the floor, and I have a second. All those in favor? And keep in mind, everyone needs to know that this can be changed within the next 30 days.
It's preliminary.
What?
There'll be a public hearing, right? There's gonna have to be a public hearing on this.
Not on this. You have
On the
to-
budget.
On the budget.
Fine, right, but we have 30 days.
Right.
So I'm assuming that between now and then, you'll probably be meeting with the school committee at some point, or
Yeah,
Maybe.
once
No,
we
no.
get, no,
The hearing is on this budget, and then we finalize
then
it
you
based
fin-
on that input. Yeah,
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
that's what I
sorry.
thought, yeah.
No, I'm sorry, but we can still find.
right,
Yeah.
right. So we
you
get
should
more
change it
input.
after the
and
public
then-
hearing,
Right,
yes.
This is only the second year we've done
Right,
this,
right.
and,
We ultimately vote on the budget ordinance.
Correct.
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 all right. I think that's it, right?
Budget and
That's the
executive, right?
budget. Oh, we don't have,
Oh,
you
no,
had
no,
other
we have,
things, you had other
No,
We
things.
get a vote revenue too, right?
And
Revenue's
resolution?
on there, you just adopted it.
No,
Okay.
I didn't. I only stuck to the
You only
budget.
went to the budget, okay.
Yeah. So I'll make a motion that we, this revenue stays the same?
Yes.
So I make a motion that we adopt the revenue estimates and the rest of the proposal under the 2% column on the.
They're the same on all. So it's
Okay,
the same
okay.
revenue on every column.
So the revenue estimates as provided by the town administrator?
So the non-property tax revenue would be 12,213,895. You would have to also make an adjustment for the abatements of 85,000. The motor vehicle taxes are 1,748,175, and we would be taking 1,500,000 from the general fund.
Second.
That would bring you to the bottom line budget.
Second.
Motion been made in second. All those in favor? The resolutions, we're gonna get the 4 that we need, and we'll put it on the agenda for the following, our next Monday meeting.
If you do it today, then we can have budget ordinance available for the 13th, right?
Well, are we sure that those are the 4 resolutions?
I thought it was 3.
No,
It's number 8.
it's gotta be 4, because we're gonna
Plowing,
put
snow
the
plowing.
snow, the snow removal.
So,
Yeah.
so,
Be 1 and 2, 8, and snow removal.
I mean, number 1 on this sheet is, just repeat the obvious,
Yeah.
that's
Right.
not a resolution, that's what we do.
And then 2 is,
2 is, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's already, but yeah.
And
So
then
we need
8.
8, and we just need to do.
so, Madam President, can I make a motion? Make a motion that we approve for the public hearing, resolve number 2 on item B4 in front of us, resolve number 2 regarding municipal accounts being restricted, resolve number 8 regarding unexpended municipal expense appropriations and the percentage going into paving, restricted account, and capital expenditure account. And we direct the solicitor to prepare, and we approve a restricted account similar to item 8 for snow removal.
Second.
motion been made in second. All those in favor? And then, now I think we're done.
Now, I have one thought, and this probably doesn't hold any water, Michael, but what if we, and I don't have the language, and maybe we can do it quickly, have a resolve that the town council respectfully requests or advises the school committee to
I could help you, but I'm not sure you know.
now, to avoid any further discussion at this time during this budget cycle regarding the closure of any school within the town of Tiverton.
Can we legally do that?
Well,
Would it be the-
doesn't have, we could do a resolve. It doesn't have any teeth.
They can ignore us.
Could, hypothetically speaking, along the same tracks,
could the part of the ordinance that goes forward and be voted on mandate that all school buildings remain open? Because the public would be the ones voting, no?
Because they have the ability and the right to close them.
Public's
Yeah.
not
That's why I
voting.
don't know if that resolves.
On the budget.
Just a sense, it's
Right.
not
Okay.
binding, it's just a.
That's why I was
So let me-
being careful to word it.
Let me ask
Yeah.
a question about that. If we did that, and if the school committee adopted it, is it?
Well, they're adopting, they're the ones who can
So,
control it.
let me
does it have
revise
a
it.
legal standing?
No, let me revise it a little bit, and maybe it's not a resolve, maybe it's just a motion at some point. That the town council respectfully advises the school committee that by unanimous consent of the council, we do not support the closure of any educational facility in the town of Tiverton.
Within the district?
Is that a resolve?
Well, it could be, we might do it as a motion, it could be a resolve, I don't know.
We'll put it in the budget ordinance somehow. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
We'll put it part of the preliminary budget.
At least it gives a sense of where we're at.
So Mike, that was a motion.
That was a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, and then all in favor? Okay.
Giddy up.
All right,
You need a motion to go into exec?
yeah, I need a motion to go into exec. Town Administrator, Rhode Island General Law 4246, 5A2, collective bargaining, discussion possible vote on IAFF.
Diane.
Local 1703 contract negotiations. Town Administrator, Rhode Island General Law 4246, 5A2, collective bargaining, discussion possible vote on Teamsters Local 251 contract negotiations. C, Town Administrator, Rhode Island 424654, any investigation proceedings regarding allegations of misconduct, either civil or criminal, fire department. Do I have a
So
motion?
moved.
Second.
Motion been made and second, all those in favor? No, it's
Roll call.
Yes.
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 I'm gonna take a couple minutes.